Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, people from all over. Welcome to this great another awesome edition we are about to have just about now. Karibu kwa show yako, show kali, show fiti ambao wadau mmekuja kupenda tu sana. Welcome to this great conversation we are about to have just now. Welcome so much. Welcome so much. Welcome so much. I don't know where this is finding you, but I know it's finding you quite okay. All right. I hope you're well. I hope you are healthy, and I know God has kept you. All right. Welcome to the show. My name is Jake, the moderator, and this is your show. This is your host, and we have another great conversation just about to happen now. We have an enough topics to cover. Where from lawlessness to mtu kumaliza mkutano to someone being told, you know what, you cannot access the Supreme Court. You are bad from ever appearing before the Supreme Court, among others who have been charged with terrorism. We'll be looking at all that in this show. So you really want to stick around and enjoy every bit of it. All right. I have enough panelists joining us, and equally, we have a great one starting about now. How are you? How was your day? Nijuze tu hapo kwa comment section how you're doing, and as well, you can as well participate kwa hii conversation. I'll be sharing the link with you on how to join the show. All right, but as well, let me know how you are. Let me know how you are doing. Sorry, I might be having some mafua here and there, but I am quite okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much. This is your show. Ndio tu imeanza, ndio tu tumeng'oa nanga. So ndio show tu imeanza. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. I have a show and a half tonight. I have a show and a half tonight. So many topics to look at in just one show. All right. But all those topics will be dealt by you, Mwananchi, by participating in the conversations that we are about to have. We'll be looking at Oscar Sudi tonight. We'll be looking at none other than Osoro tonight, Silvana Osoro. We'll be looking at Mackenzie. We'll be looking at Ahmed Nasir. He has been given a no-show list in the Supreme Court. Hafai attend, or rather, Hafai appear before the Supreme Court. Yeah, because of constant criticism. Well, I'm telling you. And of course, we will be looking at a story that has been making headlines the last couple of days, the increase of femicide. Femicide is the act of killing ladies or women of the female gender because of different issues, right? We'll be looking at that because where mambo yamekuwa moto huku nje, we have several ladies who have lost their lives because of scandals gone wrong. Either their bodies have been seriously mutilated by their significant others, either boyfriend, someone they met online. Yeah, the Nigerian people have come out to defend their team. We nakwambia tulianza na kukula fair, lakini sasa ni kama we are talking a different story. We are talking now of different issues. All right. So stick around as well. We're talking about the deputy president. Today he was to present evidence against one judge, Esther Minor, but ile time alikuwa amepeana 215, that didn't happen. In any case, I think an hour to time he issued a statement. I'll be reading you the statement that he issued, and it's like that story tulikuwa tunangoja kuona him and many others bringing petition against judges won't be happening. So I don't know what you make of all that, but we have a great one. So this is where you sit, relax, grab yourself a bowl of popcorns, and enjoy this show. All right, and as usual, this is Afric 24. Show ndio tu imeanza, so karibu sana, karibu sana. We have another one. This one wadau, this one you are going to like, love, and above all, I encourage you to kindly consider subscribing to Afric 24. Okay, you may be asking, niko kwa Mtembei, niko kwa Kenya News 24, niko kwa Leo TV. Do I need to subscribe to Afric 24? I'm glad you asked. Yes, you do. Why? subscribing to Afric 24 guarantees you other content that is not always posted in these other channels. So subscribe to Afric 24 and make it your home channel. Subscribing to Afric 24 gives you an upper hand of enjoying more content after content that is highly prepared for you, ladies and gentlemen. So consider subscribing to Afric 24 and make it your number one channel in as far as all these issues are concerned hapa Afrika 24. Ninayo show kali, ninayo show fiti. Tunaanza na mambo ya kutokubali kufuata uamuzi wa koti. The president the other day began a war with the courts and with judgments and declarations that are passed in court. All right, court orders issued against him, court orders issued against maybe the people who are perceived to be Kenya Kwanza and their affiliates. Now it seems as though kuna watu wameanza kutokuwa na, what do we call it, they don't want to observe or rather obey court orders. I think I had one leader of the Senate, of the majority, saying that, you know what, judges as well should also do public participation. Before they issue judgments, they should as well do public participation and waulize watu kabla tupitishe ama kabla tusimamishe hizi miradi hapa kotini. What do you think? Hii miradi na benefit? I don't know if that is how the law operates, but I think where bwana majority leader wa Senate, I think hapo kidogo ni tricky, because I don't know how a judge can conduct public participation before giving a ruling. I don't know where that has happened before. I don't know in which jurisdiction that can happen, where a judge first seeks public participation, first seeks an approval by the people before issuing a ruling, you know. Where a judge looks at the people first, looks at the merits, looks at the benefits, not considering the law, not considering the rule of law, but look at the people. I don't know, but I think at times we really need to consider ourselves when we make some pronunciation. Are they really practical? It's one thing to call for public participation before a matter is either passed in parliament, but now considering public participation before a matter is ruled in court, it is interesting. And again, the question now will become, we are only asking ourselves kuhusiana na mambo, maybe the project that the government is talking about. What of other cases that the public had interest in? You know, we had interest in Kimwarel and Arol case. The judge ought to have equal, if that is how you want the trajectory to be. We needed then the judge to have a public participation. You can imagine if we had public participation concerning who becomes the president. The seven judge, Akina Martha Kome, before they decide who becomes president, they conduct a public participation. Hey, wadau, hiyo kesi itaisha. Bwana Aaron Cheriot, majority leader, I don't think that is practical, but maybe we might have people who might agree with you. To the same story, there is someone by the name Ahmed Nasir. He has been bad. He has been bad from attending, or rather, from appearing before the Supreme Court. You know, the Supreme Court is the highest court in the country of Kenya. It is the highest court. Now, when a judge tells you, or when an order has been given, that you can never appear, actually, it's a permanent stoppage from him ever appearing before the Supreme Court. That is to say, if he has a case that he may hear from the lower courts, he has represented you and I or anyone else, or represent from huko chini, the magistrate courts to the high court, all right, then to the court of appeal. Akifika hapo, that's the highest he can ever go. I don't know what that means, but I know I'll be getting legal counsel to help me tackle that. And it's interesting when a gag order from anyone appearing before the Supreme Court has been issued. What happens if it is him being accused? Will he appear? What happens if it is him? You know, he's not the one representing himself, but he's in the opposing counsel. What happens then? Um, is it even fair? I don't know if that is something that has been practiced before. It's something that we really need to understand. I'm sure it's a very interesting story to be looking at even as we continue. But what informs our show tonight? We are looking at one Oscar Sudi and Sylvanas Osoro. All right, let's begin with Sylvanas Osoro. Sylvanas Osoro, the other day, when one governor, Simba Arati, had a meeting, the meeting was dispersed. Why? Youths, rowdy youths who were armed to the teeth came and dispersed the meeting. And of course, gunshots were fired. Some people were injured. And after that, many called for the arrest of one Osoro. Many called for him to face the full force of the law, because I don't think it's allowed anywhere in our country to use excessive force, or rather to disperse a crowd using such kind of force. While one, you are a civilian, or even an elected member of parliament, you cause disturbance, you cause violence, you cause people being maimed because of either not agreeing with somebody or the leadership. I don't think that is allowed. And Silvana Sosoro, we have seen protests happening in Kisii. We have seen men and women coming out to call on his arrest. But up to today, Silvana sits pretty. We are having him saying, I was there in the meeting, but the police say he was not there in the meeting. So it is an interesting turn of events, but Osoro is yet to face any form of charges. Now there is this other one that happened just yesterday by the name of Oscar Sudi. Yeah, Oscar Kipchumba Sudi. Well, hey, this great politician, who happens to be called Engineer, stormed a piece of land that has had a tussle for the last 20 years. Yeah, it is a land that has had dispute. Now, when the president was in Eldoret over the Christmas festivities, one of the lady approached him, and Osoro, of course, not Osoro, Oscar Sudi, was asked by the president to look at the matter, to look at the issue. This is an issue that is still active in court. So what does Oscar Sudi decide to do? You know what? Niko na vijana, nina jeshi, nina mbogi, akawakusanya. And then what do? They go and invade this land. And when they invade it, what do? They destroy property in this piece of land. They chase away the people who were there in that piece of land. Then you sit back and you ask yourself, well, huku nje, I think ni poa kuwa karibu na urezo. Why? You can be a bad boy. You can be a bad boy and no one will ask you a question. You can be a bad boy. You can do things hapa nje. Unaweza fanya mambo hapa nje and no one will ask you a question. And that's what informs our show tonight. We'll be looking at all that, the people who are breaking the laws, the notorious guys breaking the law, and no one seems to want to go after them. We are having this show for you. We are looking at the notorious bad boys. All right, that's the show for you. That's the show for you. The notorious bad boys. This, of course, as you can see from your screen, we have Oscar Kipchumba Sudi and of course Sylvanas Osoro. Yeah. We are asking you, are these men untouchable? Are these boys untouchable? These bad boys, are they untouchable? That they can disrupt a meeting and nothing happens to them. They can invade private land and nothing happens to them. Why? These are the strong men, the close guys of one President William Ruto. One is the chief whip. The other one, wengi husema anaoperate kwa kitchen cabinet ya William Ruto. These are the bad boys of nowadays. These are the guys who many may describe, au ukiguza umeguza serikal. Are they the serikal of today? We had such men before, akina Biwot, akina Kamotho of those yesteryears. But now it's like we are breeding new guys. Silvana Sosoro. Break the law and no one will ask you a question. One time Silvana Sosoro fought in a burial for the dad of Joash Mangi, and it was in the presence of the DP. Nothing happened after that. Nothing literally happened. So sasa amemea kucha, yeah? That time yeye mwenyewe ndo alijitokeza kimasomaso and akashika kola ya Simba Arati. Unfortunately ama fortunately, Simba Arati na skills zake za kumfu akamfanya ile kitu, alright? Akamfanya ile kitu, but now this time round alikuja amejihami na guns and all, and the guys who were shot, luckily none died, but that meeting was disrupted. So Osoro went uncharged to date. The police are still looking into that incident. And now yesterday, one Sudi chose to do what he did. Now listen to this, ladies and gentlemen.
Are tussling over the ownership of a 20-acre piece of land that has been in contention for the last 1 year. This comes after Kapseret legislator Oscar Sudi led a group of youth in demolishing structures on Wednesday, sitting on the contentious piece. Now, the incident comes just 2 days after a woman laying claim on part of the land allegedly sought audience with President William Ruto's help in occupying the property. And as Laura Otieno reports, the latest victim of the tussle has furnished Citizen TV with court documents granting him ownership of the land and condemning the demolition, which he says plunges the country into the dark days of disregarding not only court orders, but also basic human rights. Take a listen.
Scenes from the Kamagut farm in Uasin Gishu County on Wednesday morning. A group of youth armed with crude weapons are seen bringing down this structure. The crowd was allegedly brought by Kapseret legislator Oscar Sudi to oversee the demolitions on this expansive 20-acre piece that has been in contention between 5 families, each laying claim over the land. In this video taken 2 days ago at Kamagut area, an unidentified woman is seen talking to President William Ruto, who then summons the Kapseret MP. The woman in question now revealing that she sought help from the head of state to repossess the 20-acre piece that was allegedly grabbed from her and 2 other families.
Tuliongea na rais, yani tulikuwa classmate na yeye. Sasa rais akakuja kutusalamia. Nikashika yeye hivi akanisalamia, alafu nikaongea nikawaeleza hii maneno. Niko nje, shamba yangu imeng'anyang'wa na nini na wakora. Sasa president akasema na nani najua hiyo maneno. Nikaambia Sudi anajua. Sasa akaita yeye Sudi ndio akakimbia akakuja tuongee.
However, in correspondence seen by Citizen TV, a magistrate court in Eldoret delivered a ruling on 2nd of September 2022 declaring Paul Kira Samoe and 2 others as the bona fide owners of the land. In an appeal at the High Court in Eldoret, the court made a ruling in favor of Kira in January 19, 2023. Kira watched helplessly as his structures were torn down in complete disregard of the law.
Tumepeana title yetu, hata ile receipt tumepeana iko kotini, hawachaleta yao. Leo mheshimiwa na wao na watu wengi wakaja wamepomoa nyumba, wamechukua manyumba zenye zilikuwa kule, wamechukua vitu mpaka hata na saisi hatujui ng'ombe zilikuwa kule, kuku. We had projects nyingi.
In his defense, Kapseret MP Oscar Sudi joined in the onslaught against the judiciary, insisting that Kira is not the genuine owner of the land in question.
Kuna ukweli ukora kwa mahakama. Na ni watu kutoka tribe moja ukifuatilia vizuri. Hii makesi yote Eldoret, we must do something. Hatuwezi kubali kuendelea hivyo. If there is anybody ako na question mark ama ako na tu sababu ama ako na nini, awachane na kila mtu anistake mimi.
I don't know where mheshimiwa alipata wapi nguvu hiyo, ingawaje hatutaki kusema ati vile alisema yeye mwenyewe ati ametumwa sijui na nani. We don't want to say yeye mwenyewe ndiye alikuja.
For now, Kira, in possession of court documents, has been rendered homeless as he waits to see how the incident will unfold and whether the arms of government would shield him from the reigning impunity. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
All right. So that is happening, ladies and gentlemen. Oscar Sudi is now a man who can, kama hakubaliani na koti, what does he do? Anakuja na team, anakuja na kamjesh, na kamjesh inafanya ile kitu, anabomoa. As you can see on your screens, these are guys hired and employed to do this demolition. They are not in any regard of the law. Yeah, there's no court order that allowed them to do this, but because one Oscar Sudi felt hapana, kukona koti ambayo is not doing the right thing. In fact, he even says, hey, kuna
possess the 20-acre piece that
kuna tribe moja ambayo the judges are the ones who are issuing this. This lady you're looking at, anasema alikuwa classmate ya Prezo, so ameona classmate amekuja Christmas, so what does she do? Anakimbia kwa classmate, anamwambia, hey classmate, I have a problem with my piece of land, and how can you help? Then the classmate, the president, anaita the area MP Oscar Sudi. Hey, Oscar Sudi, hii story unaijua? Tunaijua hii story. Usijali mkubwa, I'll deal with it. I will deal with it. And after Oscar Sudi heard from the president, akakusanya team, and look what the team did. This is Oscar Sudi in action. Amebomoa vibanda, amebomoa tunyumba. Wow, I tell you, the bad boys, that's the show for tonight. That's the edition we are looking at. The untouchable bad boys. Welcome to this show. Welcome to this awesome debate we are about to have. As usual, I'm your host, Jex, the moderator. I'm joined today quite early by the one and only Mr. Jeff Mburu, and as well Mr. Honorable Alex Media. All right, and others equally are joining us as we make sense of what is happening. All right, our guy is becoming untouchable. Kenya ambao tuko nayo sahi. It began in a very soft way. Judges are corrupt. All right, that's how it began. Judges are corrupt. Now it's not just them being corrupt, it's now about us defying what the judges say. The land here we are looking at, the court had asked it, or rather an injunction was placed, as the court was trying to deal with that matter. But before even the court made a ruling, before even the court decided who is the bona fide owner of the land, well, some people have decided to take matters into their own hands. All right. All right. Thank you so much for being part of this great show. I wish to recognize you. Wewe ambaye unatutazama, asante sana kwa kututazama. Asante sana kwa kuchoose this to be your #1 show in as much as such content is involved. Bwana Alex, good evening. How are you? Alex, are you there with me?
Yeah,
Alex, how are you?
Give me some times.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Bwana Jeff, how are you? Jeff Moro, are you there? All right. Even as I get these two gentlemen to be in the show, I see Ernest Tarno Akondani. Well, I would want you to tell me, Tarno, the gist of the story that you know. That would really help us so that we can have a balanced show. There is what we know and there is what you know. So when we combine the two, we have a balanced reporting. All right. Okay. So let's listen into a different station as well that had this covered. And this is what the other station reported.
Over a 20-acre piece of land in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County, pitting a family and an unknown personality who allegedly kicked out the woman 2 years ago. Early today, Kapseret lawmaker, that is Oscar Kipchumba Sudi, led tens of youth in demolishing structures erected on the land where a couple was evicted nearly 2 years ago. The MP watched as a group of youth demolished houses built by the said powerful individual and dared anyone claiming that the land, claiming the land to take him to court. Elvis Koske reports.
The Kapseret Member of Parliament arrived at the farm in a convoy and addressed residents before leading them to a location where some structures had been erected. And in less than an hour, the iron sheet houses had been brought down by the youth.
Na akatutesa sana, wakapeleka kila kitu, hata hizi mabati ilikuwa yetu. Kila kitu ilikuwa yetu. Sisi tuko nje, watoto iko kila mtu iko pali yake, ngine iko pali ngine iko pali ngine.
Kama wewe ni mtu, labda wewe ni mwanaume sana kutushinda, nipeleke kotini mimi. Huyu mama haisidi kuishi nyumba wenyewe na watoto wake wametapakaa wako kwa majirani huko. Na wewe umetoka sijui, mwingine ametoka sijui Karen, ati anaishi hapa Mkora. Mwingine anatoka Ndalat, ati na ni shamba wenyewe. Yule mtu mwenye alikuwa anauza shamba ya Turning. Nataka nirudie tena. Bado ako hai. Mimi mwenyewe nimeongea na yeye. Hata sikutaja mara mbili, akaniambia wana wakora. Akaniambia title ya hiyo shamba wajepeana.
Tunaomba koti zetu musiwe mnahalalisha fieti kusi ambapo watu wanapata na kukimbilia mahakamani to defend those fraudulently obtained documents.
The land in question is 20 acres of land claimed by 60-year-old Emily Keter and her husband. They claim they were kicked out of the land by a powerful individual who took over the possession of land in 2022.
Tunaenda kubomoa hiyo nyumba. Sasa nitangaza hapa ya kwamba nimeleta mafundi wajengee huyu mama nyumba yake. Na hawa watu wengine watu waishi kwa mashamba yao na haki yao. Period.
Lakini watu ya mahakama, fanyeni haki kabisa, wacheni pesa. Wananyanyaswa watu wengi wamekufa kwa ajili hawana pesa. Tuna magari, hatuna nini, hatuna hata pikipiki, hata baiskeli, hatuna.
Efforts to get comments from the individual accused of evicting the family proved futile as no one was on the ground during the demolition exercise.
Hii makesi yote Eldred, we must do something. Kuna mtu alikufa hapa, kuna mama alikufa hapa. Anaitwa Edna. Kwa sababu ya hiyo kukuja polisi wamekuja hapa impunity, wameenda wamepewa pesa na wakora wamepata order, wamekuja hapa wamefukuza watu.
Nataka tujue huyo church mwenye alitoa hizo orders alifuatilia ushahidi gani? What document did he interrogate as the church, as a trial church, that warranted him or her to issue eviction orders?
Elvis Kosgei, KT News, Kapseret, Uasin Gishu County.
Let's now
Oh, sorry for that. Nilikuwa nimejimute. Kuna sentiments zimeniguza hapo kiasi. Oscar Sudi daring anyone, if you are man enough, take him to court. He said he did his own investigations. He called the people who are selling the land saying, oh, land ni fake. Those who are claiming to be owners, they have fake titles. And as though he's the law, the executioner, the court, the jury, and everything, he went ahead and caused destruction of property. This lady is a lady who claims to have been a former student or rather classmate of the president. She is the one who is said to be living in a different place than her land. So what did she do? Went to the president. The president gave a directive, and after the directive, where were Mammon, Ohio? Where? But kuna sentiments up as a Sudi want us to listen. Yes, here we go. Let's listen in to what Sudi had to say, and this captured my attention.
Kama wewe ni mtu, labda wewe ni mwanaume sana kutushinda, nipeleke kotini mimi.
Kama wewe ni mtu, kama wewe ni mwanaume kumshinda, all right, umpeleke yeye Oscar Sudi, umpeleke yeye kotini. Why? Atavunja vitu, and in any case anakushow aje hakuna place utanipeleka. Hakuna pahali utanipeleka. Hakuna pahali utanipeleka. Listen.
Huyu mama haisidi kuishi nyumba ya wenyewe na watoto wake wametapakaa wako kwa majirani huko. Na wewe umetoka sijui, mwingine ametoka sijui Kukaren ati anaishi hapa Mkora. Mwingine anatoka Ndalat ati na ni shamba wenyewe. Ule mtu mwenye alikuwa anauza shamba ya Turning. Nataka nirudie tena. Bado ako hai. Mimi mwenyewe nimeongea na yeye. Hata sikutaja mara mbili, akaniambia wana Wakora. Akaniambia title ya hiyo shamba wajepeana.
Tunaomba koti zetu msiwe mnahalalisha fieti kusi ambapo watu wanapata na kukimbilia mahakamani to defend those fraudulently obtained documents.
The land in question is 20 acres of land claimed by 60-year-old Emily Keter.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are asking ourselves, is this how land matters are solved in our country? Is this how we solve land matters? When you have issues with land, do you go and seek justice through the president? Do you go seek justice through the MP? Is this how land matters should be dealt with? Is this how we should deal with our land issues here in Kenya? You know, I might not know who owns the land. That is correct. From where I sit, I don't know who is the owner. But I think anyone, whether aggrieved or not, you should have a way to head to the courts. But using muscles, using your position, using your ability to do something simply because you can, I think it's wrong. From where I sit, I think it's wrong. But someone can still say it's correct because Oscar Sudi is fighting for the rights of this mama whose her children, as Oscar Sudi is saying, wametapaka huku na huku, anakaa kwa wenyewe, amekodisha. Well, she owns a piece of land. But again, there is what we call the rule of law that governs our country, what governs our nation. We are not led by just our emotions, our feelings, our rage, our anger. We are led and we follow the rule of law. We are a country governed by the law. All right, there is a law. You can't come with goons. You can't come with people armed to the teeth and destroy people's structure. All right, it's okay. The land belongs to the lady, but this structure belongs to someone else. They ought to have been given time to remove their property. Why damage it? I think this person equally should sue the lady for damaging property. All right. Equally, he also needs to be compensated. Those mabatis were never given for free. Someone even came with a power, so and all. I see Laban Masiani Akondani. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Now, we will be looking at another clip where the president talked to this lady. And after that, the president invited Sudi and they had a dialogue. And from there, I think this is where Sudi got the gusto to really come and do what he did in this piece of land. I don't know, but let's imagine if everyone was to do this. Because I know so many people have land challenges, many people have land issues they are looking at right now. If they were to take the law into their hands, if they were to go and demolish, if they were to go and have young men and women come out to their numbers and destroy property, destroy structures simply because you feel aggrieved and this is your piece of land, is that how we want to say our country should be led? This lady claims to be a former classmate of the president. I don't know if you heard that, but I'll let you hear that once she begins to speak. But I see women, I see young men destroying property. What do you make of it? That's what we'll be looking at in this show. Equally, we'll be looking at the court ruling that has barred Ahmed Nasir from ever attending Supreme Court sittings. We'll be looking at Salasya's engagement.
Wakapeleka kila kitu, hata hizi mabati ilikuwa yetu, kila kitu ilikuwa yetu. Sisi tuko nje, watoto iko, kila mtu iko pali yake, ngine iko pali ngine, ngine iko pali ngine.
Kama wewe ni mtu, labda wewe ni mwanaume sana kutushinda, nipeleke kotini mimi. Sio mtu mwingine.
Sasa akaita yeye Sudi ndio akakimbia. Niko nje, shamba yangu imeng'anyang'wa na nini na wakora. Sasa president akasema na nani najua hiyo maneno. Nikaambia Sudi anajua. Tuliongea na rais, yani tulikuwa classmate na yeye.
All right. Huyu alikuwa classmate ya president. Man, hakuna kitu tamu kama wewe kuwa former classmate na urezo. In the event something happens to your land, you know the right people to talk to. You know the right people to talk to. And after talking to the president, I think here we see her talking to the president. This is moment.
In this video taken 2 days ago at Kamagut area.
Yes. Now, there is the lady talking to the president, telling the president, hey, classmate, mimi ninaka challenge. So unajua tu how we were close, we were good friends when we were in I don't know if in high school or primary school, but all the same, they were classmates in one of these institutions. So amekuja kuaddress former schoolmate. Anamwambia, you know what, classmate? Shamba yangu iko na issues. Shamba yangu kuna msee amekuja amenyakua. Hata mabati zangu ndo ametumia kujenga. That's what I think I've heard right now. Sasa, I don't know how you're going to help me. Then the president Namuza, hey, who knows about that case? And the lady says Sudi. And Oscar Sudi is called. And he's told, hey,
an unidentified woman is seen talking to President William Ruto, who then summons the Kapseret MP. The woman in question now revealing that she sought help from the head of state to repossess the 20-acre piece that was allegedly grabbed from her and 2 other families.
Tuliongea na rais, yani tulikuwa classmate na yeye. Sasa rais akakuja kutusalamia. Nikashika yeye hivi akanisalamia, alafu nikaongea nikawaeleza hii maneno. Niko nje, shamba yangu imeng'anyang'wa na nini na wakora. Sasa president akasema na nani najua hiyo maneno. Nikaambia Sudi anajua. Sasa akaita yeye Sudi ndio akakimbia, akakuja tuongee.
However, in correspondence seen by Citizen TV, a magistrate court in Eldoret delivered a ruling on 2nd of September 2022 declaring Paul Kira Samoei and 2 others as the bona fide owners of the land. In an appeal at the High Court in Eldoret, the court made a ruling in favor of Kira in January 19, 2023. Kira watched helplessly as his structures were torn down in complete disregard of the law.
Tumepeana title yetu, hata ile receipt tumepeana iko kotini, hawachaleta yao. Leo mheshimiwa na wao na watu wengi wakaja wamepomoa nyumba, wamechukua manyumba zenye zilikuwa kule, wamechukua vitu, mpaka hata na saisi hatujui ng'ombe zilikuwa kule, kuku. We had projects nyingi.
In his defense, Kapseret MP Oscar Sudi joined in the onslaught against the judiciary, insisting that Kira is not the genuine owner of the land in question.
Kuna ukweli ukora kwa mahakama. Na ni watu kutoka tribe moja ukifuatilia vizuri. Hii makesi yote Eldoret, we must do something. Hatuwezi kubali kuendelea hivyo. If there is anybody ako na question mark ama ako na tu sababu ama ako na nini, awachana na kila mtu anistake mimi.
I don't know where mheshimiwa alipata wapi nguvu hiyo, ingawaje hatutaki kusema ati vile alisema yeye mwenyewe ati ametumwa sijui na nani. We don't want to say yeye mwenyewe ndiye alikuja.
For now, Kira, in possession of court documents, has been rendered homeless as he waits to see how the incident will unfold and whether the arms of government would shield him from the reigning impunity. Laura Otieno, Citizen.
All right, Alex, this is impunity stinking to the highest heavens, because regardless of who owns the land, the court has made a ruling on this. What do you make of this?
I think it was the darkest day in the Eldoret, whereby an MP unitary decides to
Mhm.
take law into his own hands.
Mhm.
And and he even says that kama mnataka kushtaki nishtaki na hakuna kitu
Mhm.
atanifanyia. You
Uh-huh.
know, yesterday
Mhm.
there is a unit
Uh-huh.
in State House
Mhm.
that is trying to bring anarchy in this country,
Uh-huh.
and it's going to succeed. It's not going to
Mhm.
be this area only, and you're
Uh-huh.
not going to see anybody in Kenya Kwanza kushikwa, and that's
Uh-huh.
why the meeting between Koome and Ruto was saddest.
Mhm.
Today he didn't go to any rally.
Mhm.
He only later flew to Uganda.
Mhm.
So people suspect today is the day Ruto met with Koome,
Mhm.
na Amason Kingi and Wetangula.
Mhm.
Hata kama huyu mwanamke anasema hivi, the court had made a ruling.
Uh-huh.
You can't defy a court ruling
Mhm.
and threaten the judges. If we do
Yes,
not
yes.
have if we do not have fair judges or
Mhm.
whatever judges we have to do
Mhm.
their work in this country,
Mhm.
people are going to take things in their laws, in their
Mhm.
hands.
Mhm.
Now, look, the woman says, unajua nilisoma Naruto. He
Mhm.
was my classmate. Now, you see the reason it was done is because people went to school together.
Mhm.
He sought the audience of the president wakati
Uh-huh.
alienda Voi.
Uh-huh.
So the reason why these Kiptoo people
Mhm.
wamenyang'anywa shamba is
Uh-huh.
because and the president says nani anajua hii maneno? Sudi anajua. Then the
Uh-huh.
president tells Sudi,
Uh-huh.
enda uangalie hii maneno na uitatue
Uh-huh.
haraka sana. So
Uh-huh.
who is culpable here? Is the president who told Ruto to do this.
Mhm.
The president has gone wrong.
Mhm.
He's the one who wanted to kill Sibarati
Uh-huh.
because of his popularity.
Mhm.
Now, let me ask you a question. If this
Mhm.
can be done to his own people, how about other people?
Mhm.
The Kikuyu should open their eyes and start knowing that this guy can use draconian laws
Uh-huh.
to evict them from where? Eldoret,
Mhm.
Bomet, Kericho,
Uh-huh.
all the all the college land,
Uh-huh.
because the guy said, mimi tuko na shida moja na watu wamoja tu katika hii Kenya, na hao ni
Mhm.
Wakikuyu.
Uh-huh.
Lakini kitu unafanya, unakuwa mpole, unapata uongozi, ndio una
Mhm.
deal down.
Mhm.
His constant attack on Uhuru can
Mhm.
tell you his hatred to Kikuyus.
Uh-huh.
His constant attack on the
Mhm.
governors.
Mhm.
You know, lately he has started attacking Waiguru.
Mhm.
Waiguru took a stand when Gachagua lied that they had received money for El Nino
Mhm.
as as the chairman of governors. She came out and said, "No, we haven't gotten any money." So in short, what I'm saying is this. These people want the courts to be the weakest link so that they can do anything they want. If we cannot have strong courts, Akiabugu, this country is going to burn because people are not going to agree to that kind of nonsense. People are going to fight tooth and nail and make sure that we have a functional judiciary.
All right. I see your friend Simba Nateya is in. Simba, how are you?
Salama sana Mr. Jackson. How are you?
Niko salama. Karibu sana kwa show. What do you make of Oscar Sudi's attack on this farmland?
One, hiyo lugha ndio jaribu kusikiza vizuri kidogo na kuielewa, lakini jambo la kwanza, Oscar Sudi is just a replica of Ezekiel, former Kano chairman wa Uasin Gishu, the late Ezekiel Barngetuni. Wale watu ambao sio kwa kutumia lugha mbaya, hawakuwa na elimu nyingi, lakini walikuwa wanaongoza. Hiyo ndio kazi yenye Oscar Sudi anafanya. And from onset, wakati rais alienda huko Kamagut, mtu mwenye alipewa hizo orders za hiyo eviction ni yeye, sio mtu mwingine, na amefanya kitu yenye aliambiwa. So si jambo geni sana kuona mambo kama hayo, na nafikiria ni mwanzo tu wa mambo yote ambayo tunaona, lakini tuko na kazi, na hiyo ndio kazi yenye inaendelea hivyo hivyo, na tutazidi kuona mambo mengi.
Sorry. Itakuwaje hadi watu wanapuuza uamuzi wa koti? Kwani kuna mtu ambaye anaweza operate bila kufuata sheria?
Hilo si jambo geni, kwa sababu orders zenye rais ametoa na ile mahakama ilitoa ya rais imeonekana kwamba ndio imefanya kazi. Sasa ni kusema kwamba vile alikuwa amesema ndio hivyo vile itafanyika, na in fact hii mambo ambayo kutakuwa na ulegevu kidogo, lakini ikiwa kwamba William Ruto atapata awamu ya pili, nafikiria watu ambao watalia kesi za mashamba sana watakuwa ni jamii ya Wakikuyu. Hiyo ni mfano tu ambayo imetumwa kama sino, na kwa sababu watu wa Murang'a already wameona nini inaenda kufanyika, ndio sababu tunaona watu kama kina Nyutu wameanza kukimbia kusema hapana, sio hivi, tunataka mtu ambaye atacheki huyu mtu.
Na ukiangalia vile wanabomoa, wengine hata ni kama wanapora, because kuna watu wanaekelea gunia za mahindi kwa pikipiki. Kuna pia waporaji. Je, kwani kumiliki mali Kenya, hata kama maybe kuna mshiki katika ardhi, je, inafaa iwe inachukuliwa kwa fujo, mali yako ingine inabomolewa, inaharibiwa, ingine inaporwa? I think kuna sheria ambayo inasema kwamba una uhuru wa kumiliki ardhi, ama wewe unaona vipi? Simba?
So hakuna tofauti yoyote, mtindo ndio huo, na ninakwambia with time haya yataonekana kwa fujo sana.
All right, I see my friend from long time amepatikana leo. I even want you to remind me how I used to pronounce your name. Please kindly help me today. How was I doing it? Unfortunately, I can't hear you. I'll mute, but your voice is low. I still can't hear you.
No, he needs to go back to StreamYard and reset his volume. It looks like it has a problem in StreamYard.
Yeah.
once you
Jaribu
enter
work on your
Australia,
volume and then come back. All right. Thank you so much. He's a good lost friend. I'll be catching up with him just now. But Bwana Alex, I think the law is clear that we can own land, we can also own possession. When you look at that clip, people are stealing this man's maize. I think those are maize in those sacks. And as much as shamba ndio iko na issue, ndio the contentious thing here, but his property ought to have been respected. What do you think?
see,
Bwana Jex,
when you deal,
tayari Sudi anasema huyo mtu ni mkora. Sasa hapo penye ya already huyo mtu amekuwa accused.
so Bwana Jax,
So
when
ni
you deal
mpora
with,
wanampora.
so
Sorry?
Bwana Jax, Bwana Jax, when you deal with goods and Ruto, Sudi is a good. When you deal with goods, the way they deal with their things is in a very mendacious way. So don't expect them to do things in the right way. Remember, Kipto himself has said, hata ng'ombe zangu sijui mahali zipo. He has confessed. And ng'ombe is very important kwa Mkalenjin. He didn't even cry about mahindi. He said, sijui mahala ng'ombe zangu ziko. These people resorted to go there and destroy everything. Nothing to be left. So I can rightly so say that Sudi being given an opportunity to resolve an issue, and it resolves to go and do what? Demolition. I think judges should be bold. Hata kama hataenda kotini, they should be bold and write a case against him. Someday itamshika. Yeah.
Let
Because
me ask, is this how the president wanted that we defy court orders? We live as though we don't have a constitution. We live as though the only thing that matters is the sword, because that's what he seems to have praised more than the constitution. Bwana Natea, I begin with you. I don't know if Nyakamba, I don't know if I'm pronouncing correct, but Nyatigo, I think it's easier. Are you okay now? If I can hear you, just try to say you are yet to rectify, but I know you will. I don't know why leo sauti imekukalia, but itakuwa tu sawa. Simba Nateya, what do you make of this? Should we leave?
Yeah, but you should advise Nani a log out, akilog in, mahali anapata the sound, aende huko a change the sound. Just advise
Audio
him to
yake.
log out. There is no need for him to stay here if we can't hear him.
Yeah, he's
So let him
trying. I'm
log
seeing him
out.
trying. He's looking at all the places ameingia. I can see he's struggling to find where voice yake imepotelea. But I'm sure if you log out, Mister, and come back, I'm sure you'll find it, because itakupa another option ya kuwasha camera. Kuwasha mic. So
Let
try
me
to do that.
advise you what to do. Go out. When you get on StreamYard, click on StreamYard. Hapo utaona mahali sound or volume iko. Click there. And if you find, click the alternative of what is there. Toa yenye iko huko, uweke the alternative. Your volume will be right.
All right. So I think he'll be doing that just now. He's an old friend of mine. Simba, what do you make of what I've asked you?
Mr. Chex, unajua mimi ni mkazi wa Rift Valley. Oscar Sudi ni mbunge wangu. Hiyo sio historia. By the way, Oscar Sudi kitu yenye ameongea ni rais amesema. Mambo ya mahakama hapo haipo. Haipo kabisa. So hizi ni orders zenye alipewa na walisema huyo mtu ni mkora na hiyo mambo iliisha hivyo. So mambo ya katiba hapa haipo. Haipo kabisa. Rais hafuati sheria. Rais anatumia nguvu yake ya kijeshi. Vile alisema hiyo sword hakupewa ya kukata mboga, na nafikiria he has demonstrated. Na umesikia Oscar Sudi amesema vizuri, mtu mwenye akona haja ampeleke yeye kotini, kwa sababu alikuwa na act through orders za rais. So what? Yes,
but hata kama una act through orders za rais, rais haoperate above the law. Anaoperate akitumia constitution. Kitabu alichokiinua baada ya kuinua Biblia ilikuwa ni constitution, ama alichomilikiwa na the former president ilikuwa ni constitution, na anafaa azingatie kanuni za katiba. Moja kanuni ni ya kwamba lazima ufuate mkondo wa sheria. Huwezi chukua sheria mkononi. You cannot take actions into your own hands. Huwezi amua leo, hapana, Jakes akona shamba yangu, nenda nichukue kila kitu, nibomoe, niingie kwa fujo, kwa sababu hakuna mahali utanipeleka. Hata anasema kama wewe ni mwanaume, unaelewa? Hiyo ni matamshi ya mtu ambaye haogopi, ni mtu ambaye ako tayari liwalo na liwe, kwa sababu anajua probably kuna mkono ambao umemfunika, hakuna mtu anaweza mtisha.
Ndio sababu nikakwambia hivi, katiba haikuwa hapa in the first case. Katiba haikuwa na sidhani kama ipo kufikia saizi, wakati unasikia watu ambao wanafaa kuongea kwa niaba ya hiyo katiba wanaalika rais kwa meza. Katiba iliwekwa kando, my friend Jax. Haya mambo lazima uyaone kutoka hapa vile yalivyo. Rais anaongoza na afuati sheria, anafuata nguvu yake. Yeye alinunua bunge, saizi ameweka mahakama kwa mfuko, mwananchi ajitetee. Period. Ndio unaona huyo mama hakuamini hiyo mahakama yenye rais alisema ni fake. Alienda kwake direct na rais akapeana orders na ikafanyika. Hapo sheria iko wapi?
Alright. Bwana Alex,
hapo hakuna sheria.
Alex, nikuulize basi wewe swali hili. Ni nini itazuia mimi ambaye sina uwezo wa kuendea rais, yule mwingine ambaye hakuwa classmate wa rais, yule ambaye hana uwezo wa kufikia Oscar Sudi, ni nini itamzuia hata yeye vile vile afuate mkondo huo wa kuchukua sheria mikononi, na kama akona issues na land aende mwenyewe ajinyakulie? Hatutakuwa acha watu wawe wanavunja sheria kiholela holela.
No, Jakes, unfortunately, the president, when he was in Kisii, he said, hii sword si ya kukata mboga. He will start using the sword. And you have seen that now the sword is being used. The constitution has been thrown. So there's nothing we can help unless we decide to enda maandamano kama Maumau walienda Sudi, they fought until wakatoa ubebeni. So we Kenyans must know, Bombale alikuwa naimba, emancipate yourself from entire slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. I have no fear for atomic energy. So we must emancipate ourselves from slavery or dictatorship that has come. None but ourselves can free ourselves. So Wakenya lazima realize mahali tunaenda, it's going to be even worse. Unaona mtu kama Ahmed Nasir anakatashwa sasa asiende koti kwa sababu ya ujinga, kuwa ana criticize kuwa there are judges that are very corrupt. Sonko proved how the judges were corrupt. Unaelewa? So our judges, yes, of course, were corrupt, But what Kobe should have done is to replace the 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 the, the, the corrupt judges with the new judges who are not corrupt, and then re, 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 remodel the, the, the entire judiciary or his entire group, whereby he leads the judges, the magistrates, and the wanaitwaje, nimesahau jina. That's what she could have done. But now Koombe has allowed Ruto to rule by the sword. The person who should have stopped the Ruto administration from doing whatever they want, like Osoro and Sudi, was Martha Koombe. Her office was so powerful, and she could have stopped Ruto completely. But now she has gone bad with the executive. We are going now to see even worse thing, because if he's going to rule by the sword, it's going to be a difficult time for Kenyans. And that's what you are seeing. The sword is being led by Ruto. Yeah.
Now, when Oscar Sudi said hii mahakama inaongozwa na kabila moja, what in the world did he mean? I thought judges are free to serve in any part of the country. And I'm sure he was not talking about his tribe. He was talking about another tribe. So it's almost important to ask ourselves, which tribe was Oscar Sudi talking about?
He was attacking the Kikuyus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. I think we'll do some research about that. We need to find out who are the tribes, which tribe is represented by the judges in Eldoret, because it is interesting when our legislature makes such a comment and he's, carrying out acts of lawlessness. It's very, very serious when someone can make such statements.
And maybe
very serious.
Because he's clueless, he may just make statements like that to justify what he was doing.
I don't think a judge makes a decision based on tribe. I don't think so. But I don't know. I don't want to see to know.
I'm saying Sudi was making those clueless remarks and arrogant remarks because he was trying to justify what he had done. But the judge that ruled this case, it comes from what the tribe that they think is one. So he was using that to justify that we could not go back to court because this is a judge that is from the tribe that makes wrong decisions. Yeah.
Simba, nikuulize, ni nini basi itazuia watu wengine wasiseme kabila sasa fulani, kwa sababu tumesikia kama majaji wanaweza ambiwa hawafanyi vizuri kwa sababu ni wa hii tribe. Si pia kabila zingine zinaanza kusema mrudi kwenyu kwa sababu hizi mashamba hata hazikuwa zenyu, hizi kabila zingine hazitajiki kuwa hapa na tutaki kwenda kotini, mtoke tu, na eventually tuanze kuwa na land issues na land tussles kwa sababu ya venye tumeonyeshwa, kwa sababu kiongozi ni kuongoza na watu wanaweza iga vile kiongozi amesema ama vile amefanya. So nini itazuia tusianze kuwa na such violence zianze kuprop up ama wanahisi kwamba hii shamba ni yetu, fulani na fulani, kabila fulani na fulani haifai kuwa hapa? Nini itazuia tabia kama hii isianze kuongezeka?
Kwanza kabisa Bwana Jax, mimi uniruhusu kwanza, nimefurahia sana hiyo story ya this controversial lawyer Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi kuzuiwa kwenda kotini.
Actually,
Huyu ndiye mtu mwenye yes. Kwanza kabisa hapo ndio mimi nilikuwa nataka niseme. Kwanza mimi nilipongeza, hata nilifurahia hii shida yote ya mahakama ambayo imetokea saizi na rais amekuwa nayo na nguvu, imetokana na yeye. Hiyo ndio sababu ya kwanza. Lakini suala la mashamba ama ardhi kwa nchi yetu ni suala nyeti sana. Ile swala ndio lililete yale machafuko ya 2007 2008. Haikuwa mambo ya uchaguzi. Kadi yenye ilifichwa chini ya fujo yenye ilitokea ya kisiasa ilikuwa ni mambo ya ardhi. Na wakati huo ninakuelezea kwa sababu mimi nimekuelezea, mimi ninakaa Rift Valley. I know what's happening there. Haya mambo yote yanafanyika, hayafanyiki hivi. Ndio nimekuambia mambo ambayo ya ardhi yanaenda kutokea hapa mbele yataturudisha hatua zingine za miaka yenye tumetokea, ambapo inasemekana hapa ni kwetu, hawezi nifanya kitu. It has been demonstrated and I don't know ni nini watu wanangojea. That is it. Ndio sababu umeona saizi kuna public participation Eldoret iwe city. Na from Eldoret to Nakuru, ujue hiyo ni competition, kwamba this was our city, it was taken away, it is administrated by another tribe. So alternatively we can have another city here. So hili swala si swala ambalo hauwezi sema sio same na mambo ya ardhi, kwa sababu hii ilichukuliwa, lazima tuwe na ingine hapa. Kwa sababu tuko na Kakamega, mbona haiwezi kuwa ama Bungoma iwe ni Nakuru na Eldoret? Kwa sababu gani? Haya ni yale mambo ambayo yanaibua hisia sana kwa sehemu zingine. Ama tuseme ama Marsabit, mbona sijafikiriwa kuwa city ama Turkana? Lakini between Nakuru na Eldoret is a difference of 1 hour to 1.5 hours. Hapa ni mapishano ya zile kabila ambazo zinawania ama zinang'ang'ania urais. Hakuna jambo lingine hapa. Na mambo ambayo yanafanyika katika nchi yetu ni mambo ya kabila hii. Ukiongeza kura ya kabila hii, sisi tuongoze. Rais anaonyesha nguvu zake na anatetea watu wake. That is it. Yeah.
Na unaibua maswala kali. Unauliza mbona
hayo maswala ambayo ninaibua, hiyo ndio uhalisia wa historia yetu, lakini na wengi hawataki kuisema hivyo vile ilivyo. Yeah.
Na ukitazama kulingana na jinsi ambavyo matokeo yanazidi kuendelea, Oscar Sudi ni wandani sana, ama ni baadhi ya wale viongozi ambao wanasemekana kwamba yeye ni wa karibu sana na rais, yeye ndio kama kitchen cabinet wa rais, or kitchen advisor, ukiweka akina Faruk, uweke akina Oscar Sudi, yeye ndio team ambayo inamkaribia sana rais. So ukimwona na behave hivyo, alright, inamaanisha kwamba akona baraka za rais kufanya jinsi alivyofanya.
Ndio kwa sababu wewe mwenyewe umeona hapo wakati rais alikuja nani anajua haya mambo na hayako hapa dharani kwa mitandao. So nani unafikiria rais anaamini sana? Si alituma mtu anamwamini angefanya kazi? Ameshikwa? Hajashikwa?
All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, hata tunapoendelea nataka tuangalie swala lingine la jamaa anaitwa Silvanus Osoro. Silvanus Osoro najua pia ni mbunge ambaye unamjua vizuri. Mbona yeye alipokos rabsha maeneo ya Kisii hajachukuliwa hatua yoyote?
Silvanus Osoro, mimi ni mtu ambaye sitaongea mambo mengi sana kwake, na mara kwa mara kwa hii show, masuala yangu yanaweza kuwa ni yana mambo hayo kidogo, lakini kama ni mmoja wa wabunge ambaye amechaguliwa na wananchi wa Kisii. Nimerudia na nimesema kwamba ndio hata sababu cha chifu, kwa sababu sio yeye anaongoza hivyo, na sina mtu ambaye amepandwa pale la awasishi masuala ambayo ni ya jamii ya Wakisii. Pia mimi nikiwa Mkisii
Alright. Ndakuja kwako tu sahi. Nataka uangalie hiyo mic yako ina koroma na inapotea. Bwana Simba, sijui kwa nini, na ilikuwa tu sawa tu saizi. Remind me how you are pronouncing your name kindly. Bwana Nyakaba. How are we pronouncing your name? Hi, how are you? Can you hear me? You can hear me? Can you hear me? I seem not to be hearing you. Sijui kama sauti yako sasa imekuwa sawa? Oh my. It's not muted, but we cannot hear you. I don't know why, but are you operating a laptop? I don't know why inam frustrate. But Simba, I don't know if kama umeunda sauti, but swali langu ilikuwa hivi pia. Unasema Arati shida yake inaweza kuwa nini? Mbona kuna uhasama kati yake na Osoro? Bwana Simba.
Mimi swala la Osoro na Arati, sijui kama sasa unanipata message X?
Nakupata sasa Nakupata, endelea.
Unanipata?
Nakupata, endelea.
Yes. Kwanza kabisa naweza sema ni kiburi, kwa sababu Simba Arati Kisii, yeye alichaguliwa na wananchi wa Kisii kuwaongoza na kuwafanyia kazi, lakini ukifuata especially briefing ya Silvanus Osoro juzi, alikuwa anaongelea swala ya familia ya Simba Arati. Wake ajui kuongea Kikisii, ili hali si kama ni hayo mambo vile yalivyo, ambao wanawake kama sisi hatuyaangalii, tunaangalia watu kazi. Vile nimekwambia, Silvanus Osoro is not ya kazi rais, na ile ni mkono wa serikali kuu katika siasa Kisii. Hayo ndio mambo ambayo yako huko, sio swala lingine. Ndio sababu unaona hata Machogu wakati ameitisha hiyo kikao, wananchi wa Kisii wameambia gavana usijaribu kwenda katika huo mkutano, kwa sababu tuna imani nao. Hayo tu.
Sorry. Tuliona watu wakijitokeza wakisema Osoro must go, wengine tukaona wakichoma masanduku, na watu wengi wakajitokeza kwa streets wakiwa wamegadhabishwa sana na Osoro. Na Osoro bado hajajitokeza. Of course tulimuona juzi wakiwa na Simba Arati katika mazungumzo na mahojiano pale Citizen, na nikana kwamba hakai kama mtu ambaye anashtuka, okay, na nikana kwamba kilichotokea yeye hajilaumu ama halaumu mtu wote, anasema ni gavana, namlaumu gavana, anasema gavana ana kiburi, anafaa ashuke chini, na pia gavana naye anamlaumu pia, so inakuwa ni a game of blame game na mwisho wa siku inakuwa mwananchi ndo anaumia. Ni fahari wawili ambao wamejitwika kiburi, lakini mwisho wa siku anayekosa kuhudumiwa vyema ni mwananchi. Anayenyimwa basari kwa sababu ilikuwa ni mkutano wa kupeana basari ni mwananchi. Anayeumia kwa sababu aliyeshutiwa ama aliyopata majeraha walikuwa ni wananchi. So fahari hao wawili wanapozozana, nyasi ambao ni raia ndio huumia. Alright, okay. Nyatigo, I don't know if now you can hear me, and I don't know if your voice now is good. I know you can hear me, but I don't know why I can't hear you. And the way you used to be very loud, I don't know what happened. I know something somewhere is the challenge. Ukiangalia kwa setups za kwako, I'm sure there's something that is wrong. I'm not sure what is that, but try doing this. Hapo mahali huko kuko na settings. Hebu click on the settings, then go to audio. Ukienda hapo kwa audio, look at the options it has given you. When you look at the options it has given you, the audio should be the third one. It's general, camera, then audio. The audio should have several settings. I think you need to look at the settings that represent your PC. It should be the very first one. It should read the default mic. It should read the default mic. The audio should be one. It's general, camera, then audio. The audio should have several settings. I think you need to look at the settings. Now do this. Now I think you have gotten it right. Mute YouTube. Now mute remain with StreamYard alone. I think I've helped you. I think I've helped you. Mute YouTube. Camera, then audio. The audio should have several settings. I think you need to look at the settings. Now do this. Now I think you have gotten it right. Mute YouTube. Now mute remain with StreamYard alone. I think I've helped you. I think I've helped you. Mute YouTube. Camera, then audio. The audio should have several settings. I think you need to look at the settings. Now do this. Now I think you have gotten it right. Mute YouTube. Now mute remain with StreamYard alone. All right. As you're doing that, allow me to do this. All right, as Nyatigo is working on his end, let's move on. Now, the next issue we will be looking at is the issue of Ahmed Nasir. The court has barred him for ever appearing before the Supreme Court.
Where tonight judges have slapped advocate Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi and associates of his law firm with a permanent ban from ever making appearances at the Supreme Court. In a statement, the full seven-judge bench of the Supreme Court said lawyer Ahmed Nasir has relentlessly ridiculed the Supreme Court and its judges, accusing them of corruption and undermining the Supreme Court. But lawyer Ahmed Nasir has dismissed the ban and instead termed it a badge of honor. Stephen Leto now reports.
It was an extraordinary step and indeed the first of its kind since the Supreme Court was established through the Constitution of Kenya 2010. The seven judges of the Supreme Court have banned lawyer Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi from ever appearing before the court, accusing the lawyer of undermining the independence of the judiciary. In a statement from the Supreme Court, the judges have accused Ahmed Nasir of relentlessly and unabashedly conducting a campaign in the broadcast, print, and social media aimed at scandalizing, ridiculing, and outrightly denigrating the Supreme Court. According to the Supreme Court, the lawyer has accused the court either in its constitutive persona or individual membership of acts of corruption, incompetence, and outright bribery. The statement further reads, quote, "This you have done with reckless abandon, paying scant regard to the reputations of those who tirelessly serve on the court in accordance with the oath of office. The Supreme Court, in its unanimous decision, wrote to the lawyer saying it is the decision of this court that henceforth and from the date of this communication, you shall have no audience before the court, either by yourself, through an employee of your law firm, or any other persona holding brief for you, or acting pursuant to your instructions. End quote. According to the statement, the senior counsel has ignored several warnings from the judges, including rulings made in several cases he defended before the Supreme Court. The judges accused the lawyer of a sheer display of insensitivity and abusive arrogance by his continued attacks on the judiciary, despite warnings to stop. Even with the warning, Supreme Court judges say appears not to have had any sobering effect upon Nasir. On the contrary, judges say he has persisted in his unsubstantiated and virulent attacks against the leadership and membership of the court. The statement concludes, and much as the decision is bound to affect those who may have instructed you to represent them before the court, it is untenable that you will seek justice in the very institution and before the very judges whose reputation and integrity you never tire in assaulting. In a reaction through the social media, Ahmed Nasir laughed off the ban, saying it is a badge of honor for the court to refuse him and his law firm audience. It remains unclear if the ban by the Supreme Court will have a ripple effect on the lower courts. Stephen Letos, Citizen.
Now it's interesting when a court says, "We hawezi kuja before us. You cannot come before us." Why? Because umetu criticize sana. You call us corrupt. You criticize us so much. Umetu criticize too sana to the level that how comes you want now to come before us? I think the judge ought to have lived above this in a way, because think about it. What would happen if Ahmed Nasir can appear before it as well as an accused person? Because nothing bars him from being prosecuted. Nothing bars him. He's not above the law. He can be prosecuted, and he can have appeal to the highest office, or rather to the highest court, that is the Supreme Court. So if he is bad right now, what happens to him? In any case, is he not being denied his constitutional right? It's interesting nowadays when you interpret the law, because in one end, the judges are right. Yeah, because how do you criticize us and then still want to appear before us? Then again, why deny him the chance to appear in court if, for example, he's the accused? They're looking from the level of if he's the one bringing a court case, or rather representing a situation before it. What if he's the accused? What if he represents the other side that has been taken to court? What happens then? All right. What happens then? So those are matters we will be looking at even as we move on, and try to make sense of what that would mean. I know, Bwana Nyatigo, I've helped you. I know your voice now is good. The reason that's why I was trying to mute is because it was giving another feedback because you were on two sources. I don't know if you are now okay. Can you hear me now? Bwana Nyakaba? All right. So we were looking at Ahmed Nasir. What does it mean? I'll bring in a lawyer, I think maybe tomorrow, to explain this, because this has just happened. But we will look at that in a detailed form. What does it mean for Ahmed Nasir to be barred from appearing before the High Court, or rather the Supreme Court? This is a lawyer that the president the other day said, "Hey, will come and advise that huku ndani kuko na watu corrupt." And then the president went on and said, "Hey, kuko na corrupt judges huku nje." And Ahmed Nasir, was the first person the president cited that he had advised him that huku kwa courts kuko na corrupt judges. Hey, and lo and behold, days later ndio huyo amepewa. So And the judges proving him right, because by the end of the day, whether he's wrong or right, I don't think it was wise. I don't know who is advising our judges to bar him, because it's now putting a case for him. It's already doing it. I wish you can be able to see what is happening in the social media, because what happens when he is the one who appears on the other side, because he can appear in any side, both as a plaintiff, all right, or an accused, or someone who ought to respond to something being questioned in the courts. What happens? It's interesting. We'll be interested to see and to learn what happens from here on. But where nimeona akina Ledama celebrating. Of course, hawa watu wawili huwa wanaletana juu hapo Twitter. But sawa sawa. Nyatigo, I don't know if you can now hear me. I know you can, but let's see if now your voice is good. Just try to speak, I see. No, I can't hear you. But you had rectified when I told you to go to the settings. I could now hear you, but I could equally hear myself. So I'm sure it's that part where I'm telling you to go to settings, look at the audio settings, and then click the first site you see, the default site. Click it. Go to settings, just hapo tu chini mahali unaona mic, spot cam, presentation, invitation, hapo chini. Click kwa settings and then itakutuma kwa audio. Audio will be the third thing you'll be looking at. Ya kwanza ni general, then camera, then audio. Go to audio, click audio. Ukiclick audio, itakupeleka mahali utaona kitu kama kakicheza hivi ka green. I think you can see it. Hapo mahali hiyo mic ya green inacheza, click, and then it will show you other it will show you other mics. Click the very first one, the top one, the first one. All right, have you managed to do that? Have you managed to do that? Wow. Now once you do that, it gives me a feedback. Now once you do that, it gives me a feedback here. All right, hear me. All right, hear me.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes, I can hear you now. Okay, then fine.
Okay, because of feedback,
Can you hear
I'll
me now?
allow
Because
you
of
to
feedback,
participate.
I'll allow you to participate.
Yeah, so kindly present,
Yeah, so
but I'll be
kindly
muting so that
present, but
we
I'll be
don't have
muting so
echo.
that we don't have echo. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Now, I think with the issue of Ahmed Nasir, our respected lawyer, I think he's getting what has always been in the cooking for a long time. This is a guy who was ready to die with the past government when Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto were fighting for their victory. He was rubbishing anything from the opposition. And if the guy he was fighting for now is kicking him, he must be ready to take the kick, and if anything, let him defend himself. Because he has been saying it even when the past government was there, that the court is corrupt. He is one of the judges, and how we are bound to believe what he is saying, because if he was going to those courts defending people who went to court to seek justice, and he comes out to tell us that they are corrupt, indeed we can believe him. And therefore, if they are corrupt, then we can believe that the government that we have in power is not supposed to have been there, because it was okayed by a corrupt judiciary. Can he tell us how corrupt they are, up to what level? Because if you are a Kenyan and someone comes from Kenya and says all Kenyans are corrupt, that means even you who is saying that Kenyans are corrupt, you are corrupt too, because you are a Kenyan. Wherever you go, you represent Kenyans. It's not true for any church to come out and say, oh, the churches are corrupt. You share that title. If you want to tell us that they are corrupt, denounce them and show us what will tell us that they are, but you are not. Let him take the hit that he has been trying to find for other people.
And he's one leader who is very vocal, and we have seen him defend some people like William Ruto, and William Ruto equally cited that he's the reason that now he's fighting the judges. Um, is it a revenge from the courts?
I think they might have maybe disagreed on some issues that may not come to the public. But you see, if two people are friends and they come out to disagree in the public, that means there is something that the public does not know, that they disagreed away from the few. Therefore, there could be something. If he is given a stage to come forward and defend himself, will know what it is that they disagreed upon. And will come to find out that what Kenyans have been crying about, even what the opposition is saying, is true. That the churches were compromised to give a ruling that favored the current government.
Mm-hmm. At one point, you remember in 2013, he equally made because I remember he represented Uhuru Kenyatta then. He even made a funny quote that you remember that presser, that electoral commission who went to give a press conference, and only one mic from Citizen was the one presenting. And he said this must have been a clip generated from River Road. And he was the celeb of that time. And ever since, he became the man who many looked up to, in as much as criticizing the courts. You remember at one point when the courts were giving a ruling, I think it was BBI or something, him and another lawyer, forgetting her name, but it starts with an A, were barred from talking about the matters in court. I think it was either BBI or I think it was BBI or something of the sort, or this Supreme Court ruling of the other day for the presidential petition. The two are gagged and they were told not to speak about matters. And now today, because of him constantly calling them corrupt, hey, you cannot appear before us. Is it one from where is it even possible for him to be gagged, not to appear before a court, a Supreme Court? What if he's the one who has been accused? Is it him not being told that you cannot seek justice above a certain level? What do you think?
I want to believe that Ahmed Nasir has a secret that many people do not know.
Mm-hmm.
And the only place where it can be said is in the courts. So by barring him not to say, not to go to any court or to sit in any hearing, that means they don't want it to come from his mouth, because if anybody says it, the other side can say he is not the one who said it. He cannot talk to us, and therefore he cannot accept that you are speaking on his behalf. There is something that is bigger than what the public are seeing from his being barred to go to any court in the land. The only thing that he can do, and it can be respected for, is to come out, ignore the barring from the Supreme Court, tell Kenyans the truth that he knows, which makes him call the churches or the judiciary corrupt. And the Kenyans will forgive him and hold the judiciary to account for what he'll say. If anything, it's the number one and the two who are trying to sacrifice him. Actually, he's going to be sacrifice your ram for these two to finish their term. But they have made the gravest mistake because he can turn around and spill the pins. We are waiting. You will see. Mutembe, you will see. He's going to speak.
And many have come out to defend him, including one Mutahi Ngunyi. In a tweet, Mutahi Ngunyi has written a very strong response about the High Court. This is what Mutahi Ngunyi is saying, that the Supreme Court has done grand mula, a sign of judicial bradagatio, whatever that is, intellectual intolerance and probable guilt. Amenasir and I fight, but today I stand with wanasema hivi, you can kill the messenger but you cannot kill the message. Allow me to project, maybe our viewers can read that very lengthy response from Mutahi Ngunyi. I'll be playing, or rather I'll be showcasing most of the response from these guys who appear before court. But Mutahi Ngunyi says that what the Supreme Court has done to Grand Mola is a sign of judicial braggadocio. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Intellectual intolerance and probable guilt. Amenasir and I fight, but today I stand with the bastard. You can kill the messenger, but not the message. Ruto was right about judiciary. And that's my question to you. Is the court not vindicating Amenasir? Because how do you tell someone you cannot appear before us? This is a court of law. It ought to rise above such criticism. You cannot tell someone you cannot appear before me, yet you're the custodian who defends anyone or anything that is brought before you. When the court tells you you can't, what does the court, what does that even really suggest, Bwana Nyakaba?
Mtembei, if I come to your house to ask for help and you give me the help, then I go back and say, oh, I'm now helped, I'm okay. A few days later, I come to say, you know, I went to Mutembei's house and he gave me that help. You know, Mutembei is a thief. Mutembei is a thief. Who will not believe what I'm saying? Everybody will believe because you gave me help because I came to your house. Now, what I saw in your house is what I'm going to speak out there. When the president says that the judiciary is corrupt, he went to the same judiciary and it was his victory was upheld by the same guys he's saying they're corrupt. And someone comes out and says, no, he's saying the truth. So whom do we believe? Is it the court that is now caning Amenasir, or we want to assume that the president has not something itself? It's just like those off the cuff addresses that he gives after reading a written speech. The fact remains, Amenasir knows the truth, and that's why Kina Mutahi Ngunyi want to stand with him.
Another tweet I want to read is from Mohammed Anur, and this is what he says: that we will not allow Chief Justice Martha Koome, the Supreme Court president, and the Judicial Service Commission to fight senior counsel Amenasir simply because he is a Muslim from marginalized northern Kenya. Koome, focus on your fight with William Ruto. Leave Grand Mula alone. Already this one is taking a trajectory. It's taking a religious trajectory. It's taking a marginalized trajectory. It's also taking a senior counsel, you know. How do you tell a senior counsel you cannot appear before court? How? So in short, are you telling this person to retire? Because what happens if other courts take cue? What happens if other courts tell him, we will follow the higher court? Because Supreme Court is the senior court. The other junior courts can equally choose to follow the directive. What do you mean of what do you make of such a response from Anur Mohammed?
I want to believe that this action is going to open so many holes, such that even the person who sanctioned the pairing is going to regret at the end of the day. In Kenya is a country of so many countries. You understand what I mean? So many states, so many. You touch one, it will be you have touched one of us. And now you see it has now gone to the religious side, yeah? Which should not be the case. Now, by so doing, they are doing a disservice to the judiciary that they always brag about, that they are being respected. By the way, the upholding of the current government's win in the last general election is what spelled doom for the judiciary and doom for Mother Koome herself. So if there is anything that would have happened to claim back the respect that the judiciary had, Koome should have walked with her head up and straight and started doing things right from the beginning, just like her predecessor did. Nobody can talk ill of Maraga because they know what he did, and they'll come out and defend himself. Now, in what is happening right now, do you want to tell me that even after her tenure, she'll come out to lecture other lawyers or judicial staff on what they need to do? No way.
Bwana Nyatigo, we see Martha Koome, every time there's a criticism, she's quick to give a response. You know, it's like we can never criticize the judges, we can never criticize the judiciary, we can never do that. And I equally even like what Cornelius K. Rono is equally tweeting and says, the Supreme Court has barred Grand Mullah from appearing or filing case before it. Of course, these two guys, they normally joke with each other. And he says, Grand Mullah has been told to focus on his new role as a blogger, where he's actively criticizing the court. Because if you're told not to participate, or rather to appear before the Supreme Court, the highest court, what if they choose to follow Q? And in any case, it is not just him, even his office, or rather his law firm, anything that he does, he cannot even send someone on his behalf. He has been barred completely. How does he even function, really?
If we have right-thinking churches in Kenya, they should all call off their services. They should start boycotting courts in solidarity with those churches who stand for the truth. The Grand Mullah might have been standing with those who are bent to breaking the law, but now if he is out to point them and they are trying to cover him, to pull him down, any right-thinking judge knows, or a judicial officer knows that this is not right. And let me tell you, Mutembei, the fact that that is happening in Kenya is not a highland, an island, by the way. People are watching what's happening. We have our lawyers schooled in Kenya, working elsewhere, all over the globe. You wonder what kind of home they come from when this is happening. Can I pause and give you something that is said in the Bible? Some people were asking, do you expect anything good to come from Nazareth? We have professors who are lawyers from Kenya teaching law in universities across the globe. So, let me again take you back. Do you remember that there is somewhere it was written that Mutunga's judgment could never be used to instruct any law class in Kenya? So the same thing that they are doing is blackmailing lawyers who went to school in Kenya. And they are blackmailing Kenyans across. It is horrible.
All right. Last week we saw the lawyers wakiandamana kwa sababu ya president ameingilia majudges. Now this is a senior counsel mwenye ameambiwa, hey, huwezi appear before us. Will we see the lawyers coming out? Because this is what Ogeto Makori is saying, that the Law Society of Kenya should rather return to the streets for maandamano to defend the Glan Mullah's freedom of expression and of opinion, and to reject and condemn this blatant tyranny of the Supreme Court that flies in the face of the law and the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Bure kabisa. Because in any case, Nyatigo, he has criticized. It is his right. It is his constitutional right. We must not all agree. We cannot all agree. But if I'll be bad simply because I don't agree, simply because I criticize you, then are you equally not denying me my right, as he's saying, the right of expression, the right to have an independent opinion? Is it not already a violation from the Supreme Court, the highest office in the land? Do you agree with these sentiments?
I agree with that, because what are some of the signs and symptoms or signs of a dictator? No freedom of speech. And that's what is happening in our country. So when you see all this happening, let us not put our heads down. You know, the opposition leader always says that let people not act like an ostrich. That I don't know what I can say, but the fact is, it is wrong. And if there are lawyers who want a democratic space in Kenya where they can practice their law as enshrined in the Constitution, let them go back to the streets. And in fact, let them call the masses to join them, because by them being denied a right to appear before any court, the masses are denied a right to seek justice in the land that they call their home.
All right, I'll be coming back to you just now. When Alex, you had stepped out, now you're back. I wanted us now to look at the very recent ruling by the Supreme Court barring one senior counsel ever again. Actually, it's a permanent barring before it, that you cannot step before us, either by yourself or through someone else, or even your law firm. What do you make of this ruling?
That's a hot air. That it's not going to happen. People are going to defend Grand Mullah, and there is nowhere Grand Mullah is going. That's just hot air. And let me tell you, I've been to Ahmed Nasir's office because my cousin works there. My cousin works there as a paralegal. Grand Mullah defends his people like crazy. The Muslims. And he has defended so many. I called my cousin and I asked her, so kazi yako imeisha? Akaniambia, yeah, for now. However, the Muslims might demonstrate in a very bad way. And because on Fridays, he's giving Muslims an opportunity to do what? To waenda maandamano. And you know, Muslims wakitoka msikiti wakienda maandamano, it's worse. It's not like us tunarusha mawe ama nini. You saw the other day the soup camp. warned Ruto like crazy. I don't know what he had done. And they warned him. And they said, if you are going to continue this, we are not going to allow you to be the president of this country. So I think Ruto is opening a worm of can that is not going to be able to carry. And you see,
but then again, Alex, is this not vindicating Amenase? Because he is saying, and he has stood his ground, saying they are corrupt judges, and he's not blinking an eye. He's saying, I stand with this. Crucify me all you want, but they are corrupt judges. Is this not vindicating him and equally giving a high hand to William Ruto? Because how can a court tell a senior counsel you cannot appear before us? Does it not give him an upper hand? Because it now almost vindicates that, hey, kumbe nimechokoza nyuki, now nyuki ndio hawa wametoka.
You see, they want to restructure the judiciary. They want to take people like Odunga, Mumbi, progressive lawyers who are independent thinking. And Ruto said he wants to fill some judges. And remember, he has already the 6 judges that he reinstated immediately he came to power. So what Ahmed Nasir said during in his X or Twitter, he said this is a badge of honor. He said this is a badge of honor. And if you interpret those words, he's saying you are vindicating me that I've always been true. But let's go to honestly know, are the courts corrupt? Sonko showed us how he wanted to be saved by the judges and how much they took from him. Millions of money, some 30 billion. And Sonko was revealing them pole pole. Day 1, day 2, day 3. By day 4, they ganged him. And they told him, you can never do this. And what did Sonko do? He went to the Judicial Service Commission, and again, he convinced them. Chitembwa was fired. So Ahmed Nasir is not wrong. He might be wrong sometimes when he writes some tweets that about Baba that are bad. But on this, let's not mix politics with the courts. On this, Ahmed Nasir is correct. We have completely many lawyers, many judges that are very corrupt. Remember the judge
Let me
that was
ask you
fired.
this.
Remember there was
Let me
a
ask.
judge.
Okay, go ahead.
Remember there was a judge that was fired about 2 years ago, who had taken millions of money from clients so that kesi yake iishe. Look, there is a judge that there is a lawyer that killed his own son, Nyakundi. You remember him? Remember that case? He killed his own son with a gun, and even the mother confirmed it to the courts. But because this lawyer knew some judges within the system, he was exonerated from that. Are these not? Are these not? Yes. Give me a few minutes.
Now, this is coming in a wake of.
Just give me a few minutes.
Yeah, I am. This is coming in a wake of where we are having fight between the courts and the president. And one of the persons that the president cited and praised was Ahmed Nasir. The other thing I'm liking is that some lawyers who are good friends to Ahmed Nasir, like Makau Motua, a good friend of Ahmed Nasir, has come out to defend him, despite him being in Azimio. Makau Motua has come out to defend him. Now, let me project to you the tweet from Makau Motua. Makau Motua says that it's unconstitutional. Yeah, it's unconstitutional. It's illegal. It's immoral. Just one moment. I get the entire. All right, just one moment. This is what Makau Motua is saying. Makau Motua professor says that it is patently unconstitutional for the Supreme Court of Kenya to bar, or rather to ban senior counsel Ahmed Nasir or his associate from appearing before it. Free speech is a cornerstone of democracy. You don't win an argument by gagging your opponent. That's fascism. Shame on them. That's what they're saying. So, Bwana Nyatiga, let me ask you: when you look at what, just one moment, I'll unmute you. When you look at what Professor Makomo Tua is saying, that it is quite unconstitutional to gag anyone simply because they don't agree with you. What precedence is the court setting that anyone you don't agree with, you should shut them up?
You know, this is a sorry state in our country. You know, the other time, let me take you back a little bit. The president said, if you are doing this, there are three ways. Utahama Kenya, utatoka ama utaenda kwa Mungu. Now, if the Supreme Court tells you not to appear before them, that tells you you ought to follow everything that is here because they are the Supreme. You have nowhere to go and seek justice because you can't go to them. That means they have taken all your liberty. Number two, if you have anything that you would want settled before a court of law, then you have to go outside the jurisdiction of this Supreme Court. Are they telling us that Kenyans should go to seek for justice out there? Where are they sending the Grand Mullah to and his associates? We have so many people who have got the same thinking like the Grand Mullah. So they should not be given justice in Kenya because they cannot be allowed to stand before the judiciary. The fact remains that even in that Supreme Court, we have incompetent judges. Even Martha Koome herself is incompetent because even the ruling that she gave of the presidential case before her, hot air, and you know that gave something that people have never known. That gave her a very bad name and picture in Uganda before women lawyers of Uganda. In fact, they told her it's a shame. Yeah? So she is progressing from one shame to another until now. It's terrible. Grand Mullah has been unmasking the problems that are in this judiciary, and it's good that he continues. Now, let me ask you. At home here, Grand Mullah can be seen to be a dubious lawyer. They may not want to listen to him. But out there, he is a respected guy. It's only that, you know, Mtembe, if we could have files of those who fetted for the seat where Koome is sitting, you will find that some numbers were shortchanged until she got that chair. What did we find out, or what was said about our former IEBC chairman? Number 9 to number 1, or number 3 to number 1. So we should not be surprised that those things are being said about our judiciary, and they are acting there. They are being said. So Grand Mullah should urge his colleagues to call the populace to the streets. This is the time people should have a revolution because they are being denied their power. power rests with the people through the constitution, and the constitution can only be safeguarded by the judiciary.
Now, when you look at all this, Grand Mullah appears to be a man who many seem not to agree with, especially the judiciary. And at one point, he criticized the ruling, saying that the judges might not be independent, or rather, they might be coerced. So he came out strong to oppose. He came out strong to speak ill of I think it was Martha Koome then. And before Martha Koome gave a ruling, the first thing she did was to criticize Grand Mullah, and I'm forgetting that lady, but I'll get her name just now. And how can a judge be afraid of criticism? In any case, whether you're speaking towards a case or a judge or even a judgment, should a judge rise above that? Because every day in Tembe, in all these media stations, we speak about the president, we speak about Raila Odinga, we speak about Parliament, we criticize anything, everything, and anyone can be criticized. Why are our judges above? Are they so immaculate that they don't make mistakes? And even when they make mistakes, we can't speak about it? Is that what the courts want to mean tonight? What do you make of it?
If I want to believe that there is one underlying factor that is making them behave the way they do. They know the ills they have committed, and they know how they are there. If they could have a straight record of what they have done, they could even tell the Grand Mullah, come forward, we have given you a platform, name those corrupt churches, 1, 2, 3, up to the number you know, the way Songo was doing. If they know they are clean. Can I take you back to the vetting that was done of the previous Chief Justice? Before the panel, he said, he was asked whether he had ever taken a bribe. He said, give me a pipe. And he swore. Now, I want to challenge Martha Koome plus the Supreme Court judges who have told the Grand Mullah not to go before them. If they are clean, let them swear before the public that whatever they have done, there is no ill motive behind it. Whatever they have done is basically to clean themselves. Let them swear that what we have done, we don't have any ill motive against the Grand Mullah. The Grand Mullah is mudslinging us. And then Grand Mullah be given a time to say 1, 2, 3. Remember, when those men took that woman before Jesus, he said, if there is any of you has never done a sin, let me be the first one to do what? To throw the stone. And when he looked up, where were they? If the Grand Mullah is lying, let them give him time to speak. And if he does not name them, let them continue. But because they know they are stained, they don't want him to speak. But the population, the masses, have known, and they know who is right.
All right, I'll be coming back to you, Bwana Nyakamba. Just one moment. I see my good friend Bwana Kenya Revolutionary is in, and he's coming in with so many interesting topics to discuss. But let's first go on with what we have on the table. Bwana Kenya Libel, let me ask you, do you agree with the Supreme Court, the highest court of the land, barring Bwana Ahmed Nasir from ever stepping before it, even his associate from ever stepping before it? How right is that?
Yes, Jakes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm actually happy that they banned this charlatan who has actually corrupted his way to. Yeah, he is a charlatan, incompetent, not even
Really?
incompetent. He's semi-literate. He's bribed his way to prominence. As you know, Kenya, if you have money, you can become anyone you want. So this is a huge step in Koome cleaning up the judiciary arm of government. So I'm happy with it. Abdel Nasir, if you remember, even a few weeks ago, he had a exchange with Atwoli, and Atwoli actually posted the things about Abdel Nasir, how he has forged his papers to become a fake lawyer. I mean, it's an open secret between the law society that this man is not qualified to do anything. So I'm happy, and I hope it stays that way. We should even look at his papers. He's probably a Somalian. I don't think he's a Kenyan. So I'm pleased. Koome is doing something good. And by the way, I wanted to comment something. Just because Koome made a judgment against what you would like her to judge unfavorable towards you. For example, I had my good friend who's here too, who said that Koome made a bad judgment when it became regarding the case of the presidential petition. She could only make that judgment based on the evidence that was presented to her, and as she's looked at it and she see how ridiculous Azimio's part evidence was, she called it hot air, which there's nothing wrong with that. That was a correct judgment. There's nothing that does not make her incompetent. She just simply made a ruling based on the evidence that was presented to her. So Kenyans should celebrate today for the judiciary taking a huge step, removing this cancerous individual from the judiciary, from the law society. Thank you.
All right. Now, I remember, I think it was during the presidential petition where the lawyer were cited by Martha Koome even before her ruling. I think this is something that is beyond what we are seeing. Whether you like him, hate him, love him, that's up to you. Whether you think he's qualified or not, it's equally up to you. But by the end of the day, he is the Grand Mola. He has been practicing. If you have evidence contrary to him being educated or not, it's still up to you. But by the end of the day, here is a judge who took time away from her ruling to criticize her critique, to gag her critique from opening, or rather from discussing matters in court. And I'm about to play a clip of what happened during the presidential petition, just before she gave her ruling. Minutes before she did that, the first thing she did was to first gag these two lawyers. One, I think, came into play during BBI. The next time, I think she was called Agagwa, I think, something of the sort. Her name starts with an A. But before the ruling, this is what Martha Koome did.
Has gagged lawyers and litigants from making any comments on a presidential election petition in new rules governing proceedings at the Supreme Court. In the amended rules, the CJ banned litigants, their advocates and agents from expressing their opinions on the merit or demerits of or predicting the outcome of a case involving the election of the president until judgment is delivered. Koome says failure to adhere to these rules amounts to contempt of court. Some lawyers have criticized the Chief Justice, terming the move unconstitutional and one meant to stifle expression and public participation. Constitutional lawyer Waiko Wanyoike and Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, who are involved in the 2017 election petition, are among those who have raised objections to this new rule. Lawyer Ahmed Nasir has also had a previous run-in with former CJ David Maraga over social media comments on a case that was ongoing in court.
So this is something that has always been there. Ahmed Nasir is a renowned tweeter. He expresses his feelings on Twitter. He's not the only person who tweets. Many people tweet.
Jakes.
It is his right, whether he's educated or not, whether
No,
he's a
James.
Kenyan or not. The constitution is so clear about freedom of expression.
No,
It
James.
does not put a comma on
No.
who should or should not express themselves. That's period. Unless you have another law you want to say.
Yes, Jakes.
But he is allowed to cite what he doesn't feel okay with. Go ahead.
Jakes, if you're part of the law society, okay, you're licensed in Kenya, in that jurisdiction in Kenya, okay, you have to adhere to some rulings that this institution called the judiciary, judges, whatever, the judiciary arm of government rules on. It's not uncommon. Even in the US, you know, there was when Trump had a case, the judge actually issued a gag order letting him not speak on the issue that was going on in court. That's not infringing on your individual freedoms. Just that the case is going on and they don't want you to talk about it. Okay, and you're partying the case. Now, with the case of Ahmed Nasir, he might not be part of the case, part of the petition or whatever that's going on in the courts, but he's the member of the law society. Okay, he's licensed in Kenya, so it applies to him too. And one more thing before I finish, Jakes, you know, I'm usually troubled and actually bothered. It makes me angry when I hear you say that whether you like him because you think he's not educated or not or whatever, you know, that's the mentality, that the reason why we have mediocre leaders in Kenya, because it's an open secret. Everyone knows that Ahmed Nasir is not qualified, is not licensed, he's forged his papers to make his way. It's not an opinion, it's known. We can prove it. Take me to court, sue me, okay? So when you come here and say that he's a grand mullah, so we shouldn't, you know, that's the whole reason why we have incompetent people in your positions, because you glorify people like this who are actually are nobodies. They are not intellectually there. So that's my anger with this. What annoys me with this. You glorify mediocrity.
And just one moment. I'll unmute you. And I won't soothe your massage your ego so as to make you feel okay, because you equally say you know he has no paper. That is you, and you are entitled to that. And and I'll say it without fear to be contradicted. It is his constitutional right, papers or not, a Kenyan or not. It is his constitutional right not to be gagged. Take me to court as you have asked me to.
That's where you are wrong.
It is.
No, it's
all right. Let me be wrong where I am, but this is what I know. He cannot be gagged. We will be here when I'll be telling you. I told you.
The Constitution cannot protect you. Okay, the Constitution cannot protect you if the institution that the Constitution gives power has made a ruling and told you legally you cannot speak on this issue. Okay, so whether you have constitutional right to speak, the very institution that has given powers to give order to gag you from speaking on that petition, if it says you cannot speak, you cannot speak. That's why his constitutional rights does not apply once the courts pronounce itself on that issue.
Yes,
you see, our friend is saying that that's why we have mediocre leaders in the country. The same guys who are partying the Grand Mura, who is to him mediocre, are the same people who have given us the mediocre leaders that we have in the country. And everybody has a right to say what about what. But the fact is, as you have said, Grand Mura has been practicing in Kenya, whether he has papers or not. He has been registered by a body that is regulating their practice. And if anybody had a problem, would have gone to court to pay him. But since he has been practicing, who are we to say he has not been doing the right thing? He doesn't have the papers. How many years has he practiced? In fact, he even started practicing earlier than some of those who are trying to throw him out. So why can't they follow due process to throw him out and say, we are throwing him out because he doesn't have papers, but not because he is saying that we are corrupt?
That's why I said that's a great step that Kome, whoever barred him from, gagged him from speaking. It's a huge step we are taking from removing him.
Kome
from
herself
speaking.
is as corrupt as Grand Mura is saying, because that's why he has run to go and talk to the person who corrupted her to make her judgment so that she can avoid the public embarrassment.
What are you basing Kome's corruption on?
You read
because
the
she made a
judgment.
ruling that on the presidential election petition.
And many others even before she became a Supreme Court judge.
Name one. Cite any case.
Case what?
Are you a fist in Kenya?
No.
What?
Cite any case that that Koome was involved in which you say that she was implicated in being corrupt.
You wait, you can get all of this information from the Grand Mura a few days from today, my brother.
Okay, I'll wait. Please be here when he does that. We'll discuss that.
Actually, it is you. I'm giving you an official invite. Please be here when this bar will be removed.
By all means,
you can take it to the nearest circle. All right.
Sounds like
now, ladies and gentlemen, this is becoming hot. I'm equally finding myself being involved because it's almost criminal when we crucify someone. Now it is now dawning on Kenya Rebel and many that Grand Mullah is not a Kenyan, he is a Somali. It's now dawning on him and many that he doesn't have papers. It's dawning on him that probably he's not qualified to practice. And it's dawning on him that we advocate for such leaders. Wow, interesting. But then again, as I said, just one moment, I'll be the one to unmute you, Mr. Nyatiga, because you have an echo from your end, and I understand why. But then again, if the Supreme Court can do this to one senior counsel, what will inhibit it from doing it to me and you and equally Kenya Rebel, who criticize? Because what we do even in this show is to criticize. What we are doing actually, it is to criticize. Yeah, it is. It is airing an opinion. What you are doing, you are airing your opinion, whether you dislike or like. You're airing an opinion, and that's what Grand Mullah does on Twitter. He airs out an opinion, whether he likes. You can shake your head all you want from here to Timbuktu, but that's what he does. He airs out an opinion, and when he airs out an opinion, it can be cited as a criticism. It can be cited as speaking on the merit or a demerit of an active court case, and all that. And the court have gagged him before. We can go back in history and see that even Justice Maraga equally had a problem with this. But when it reaches a level that the courts, the Supreme Court for that matter, gags him or bar him from appearing before it, what does it even mean? What does it mean to us when it comes to the freedom of expression? Because tomorrow it will be you. Tomorrow it will be someone who will be educated with the right papers, a Kenyan, maybe even black than me, darker than me, will have all the qualifications, because maybe according to Kenya Rebel, Grand Mullah lacks some of the credentials to make him really be right to be defended. Yeah. So why is it important that right now it's okay for him to be bad? What will not make it right when someone else, you and me, be bad?
Is that a question for me or?
Let me begin with Nyatiga, then I'll come to you.
Jakes, I want to believe one thing, that in the politics of Kenya, our country, when someone comes against the forces that are there, that person will be thrown back to his tribe. Now, where our friend wants us to look at that, because the Grand Mullah said this, he's not even a Kenyan, he's a Somali. You know, that is self-defeatist, because give that person time to prove what in fact, even Grand Mura does not even need to come forward and prove what he is insinuating, because it's in public domain that these things have been happening. You know, we are not going back to previous regimes where if someone said something, that person is thrown out or is pulled out of government, is beaten into some corner so that you can obey. The fact remains, what Grand Mura is saying is a fact, and this is what has been going on. Even the president himself, who is a bona fide of the corruption in the judiciary, is pointing back to. So we need to be open. Let this happen for the sake of clarity, so that even posterity will not have a point to look back to and say, here things went wrong. Let us have that progressive mind. We should not be where we were in the 1990s or 80s. In the 80s, right now, Grand Mura could not even be in Kenya. He could be talking to us from somewhere else. In the 90s, things have changed. In this 21st century, things should change and people should be open. That's why, even when my friend is talking about in America or where, those are democracies that have grown on what Kenya is now. At some point, they were where we were until they are where they are right now. So let us not just castigate everybody that this is bad. Let us give it time. If indeed there is corruption in the judiciary, it will be known as days go by. But let us not simply say, oh, he is not having the papers, he is not a Kenyan. You know, this is not a time to run to my tribe or cocoon or to my... We know, in Kenya we are subdivided. We have Kushites, we have Bantus, we have Nilotes. It's not time to run to those. We want a Kenya that is going to be a habitable home for us, our children, and our grandchildren.
Jakes,
Kenya Rebel?
When you're a doctor and you always take an oath, and you're part of, what do you call it? That's doctor, physicians, society, whatever the case is.
The KMBBU.
Okay. So if you come and let's say they have their board and they come up with a medication, let's say a medication, they approve it. If you come up as a doctor and you challenge or you speak something about against the board, you know, do you know they can take your license away from you? If you, the point I'm trying to make is this: they have the power to take your license based on your pronouncements. There's a lot of doctors who are speaking against, I don't want to say that thing, ile shindano walikuwa wanapatia watu, okay? And some doctors lost their license for speaking against that hiyo shindano, okay? Now, the reason why I'm saying the courts have the right to actually ban him from Supreme Court is not because of his personal view per se, okay? The contention is he is part of the law society. He's licensed, okay, in Kenya, all right? So his opinion is not just an opinion like Sisi, my individual, okay? We, the layman. I'm not licensed in Kenya. So I can say whatever I want, what I think about a case, what I feel about it, and they will not ding me for that. They cannot ban me because I'm not licensed there. So I can speak freely as a citizen. But if you're part of the law society, okay, and you want to talk about, criticize the judiciary or talk about a case, talking about what's wrong with it. I'm not disagreeing with him when he speaks about corruption in the judiciary. We all know there's corruption. But as a licensed law practitioner, let me use that, in Kenya, if you speak against the judiciary and they feel that, you know, you've crossed the line or whatever the case, they have the right to disbar you, ban you from actually practicing law in their courts because your license is operating under their authority. This has nothing to do with your constitutional right as an individual. You are commenting on a matter that has to do with this organization that has actually given you that license. So they're banning you because of that, not because they're not gagging you from speaking your mind per se. Am I being clear?
All right.
You're right, and you are clear that he is licensed to practice in Kenya, and he has to follow a code of conduct set by the Judicial Service Commission. But the fact is, the same conduct set, the same rules set out by the Judicial Service Commission have got a clause that you have freedom to speak out, and that's what he has done. He has the freedom. He has the freedom.
No,
my brother, even in medicine, what you have been saying, that the doctors have this, and when you speak, they cannot, because these we have in every organization there is that freedom to speak out when you see a wrong being done, which is going to injure the client.
Cite that clause that says that he can speak on a case as a licensed member of law society on an ongoing case.
You cannot keep quiet that your clientele are being injured or maimed by a corrupt conduct of your organization, or the people who are in your court who are ascribed the conduct that is governing your practice. You cannot keep quiet. It is illegal.
No,
and you can be prosecuted for that.
You're conflating issues. I'm saying this. Abdel Nasir made some, whether it was on Twitter or whatever the case, it was in public opinion on an issue regarding the judiciary or the judiciary arm of government. Now, this is the same arm of government that actually his license operates under. They gave him that authority, okay? So they gave him a gag order not to speak on that issue, whatever issue or whatever he was saying, because he operates, his license, his legitimacy to practice law is given by this very body. So they're telling him, you cannot do this. So we are gagging you because your authority to practice law comes from us. This is not to take away his constitutional rights. That's a separate issue. Now that he has been gagged and banned, he can speak on it because now he cannot operate, he cannot give an opinion as a lawyer.
My brother, if you look at the Commonwealth law, the practice in the Commonwealth, it gives lawyers a leeway to speak out when things are not correct in the judicial system.
Not if judge issue a gag order. You have to respect that.
I would wish that you go and study the Commonwealth law.
Which one? What part? Because I'm telling you, the judge has given what I'm saying. Listen, I'm not saying that he cannot speak, but I'm saying the order that the judge has given to him is okay. He can stop him. You cannot say that his constitutional right is being infringed upon. I'm saying the judge can have the power to stop him from speaking on matters that have to do with this judiciary organ, because he's a member of the law society, and the judge has the power, the governmental power to stop him from doing that. So his constitutional right has not been violated. The issue is his authority as a licensed lawyer is what has been stopped, not his constitutional right. That's what I'm saying. Differentiate the two.
You need to look into that.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I choose to argue my facts with this. Number one, Martha Koome, the CJ, is coming out clear on this fact that she does not take any form of criticism, whether positive or negative. She is quick to respond even when no response is needed. Case in point is this one.
In a special way, the galaxy of legal luminaries, among them distinguished legal scholars, professors of constitutional law from Kenya and other jurisdictions, who joined this case to enrich our judgment. We found their views very useful, although they were varied and divergent. especially on the applicability of the basic structure and doctrine, and whether it acquired international application under the provisions of Article 2.5 of the Constitution. The court's decision has been enriched and benefited a great deal from the arguments advanced by all the parties who appeared before us. We hope with the full noise of time, even our local scholars will find their way in other jurisdictions, in other countries, America, Germany, or even Africa, to share our rich jurisprudence with those courts. We also wish to thank our law clerks for their research and exceptional industry in supporting the work of this court. That said, in the course of writing this judgment, the court observed with concern some commentaries on the pending judgment carried out in the social media by some counsel, some of whom are appearing in this matter. The contents of those social media commentaries were, in our view, meant to influence, intimidate, or scandalize the court. This unfortunate practice is emerging, and unless it is checked, it will erode the confidence and the dignity of the courts. It would also amount to unprofessional conduct, especially by counsel appearing in this matter, and even counsel who are not in this matter, but know very well that they cannot comment on a matter that is pending judgment. It is a well-established practice that counsel and indeed parties should refrain from directly or indirectly trying to improperly influence the court to rule in one way or the other. Once judgment has been reserved and judges retreated to consider submissions and write judgment, learned counsel Mr. Nelson Avi and Ms. Esther Angawa, who appeared for the first to the fifth respondents, took to the social media, Twitter, on different occasions. On 19th February and 15th February 2022, and they cast aspersions on the courts. For counsel to appear before the apex court, then proceed to hurl unnecessary diatribe, insults, and speculations on a pending judgments amounts to unethical conduct on the part of the counsel. The use of social media to disparage the court with the intention of lowering the dignity and the authority of the court or influencing the outcome of the case pending before the court is a trespass on the bounds of legitimate advocacy and moves to the realm of professionalism to professional misconduct. This is in line with the provisions of Section 61 of the Advocates Act that deals with dishonorable conduct incompatible with the status of an advocate. Equally culpable is the conduct of senior counsel, Mr. Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, who, though not counsel appearing in this matter, took the lead role in disparaging and besmashing the court as evidence from his posts on Twitter on 8th February 2022, 15th February, and even as late as yesterday, the 29th March 2022. Section 17 of the Advocates Act envisages the rank and dignity of senior counsel is conferred on the basis of irreproachable professional conduct and exemplary service to the legal and public service in Kenya. These standards are expected to continue even after conferment of the rank of the senior counsel. Advocates should familiarize themselves with the Code of Standards of Professional Practice and Ethical Conduct, Gazette Notice number 5212, and strive to conduct themselves in a manner that preserve and strengthen the dignity, the honor, and the ethics of the profession. Consequently, advocates should refrain from conduct that amounts to indirectly attempting to influence decisions pending before courts.
My first question to you guys, when you write on Twitter, are you citing laws that the judges should consider? In any case, I think it's a practice in other jurisdictions. For example, if I am appearing in a jury, I'm supposed to keep off from social media or anything that can influence or impair my judgment. So, what business does a judge have to do in Twitter, looking at what lawyers are saying concerning a case, so as to make a ruling, so that this what I post on Twitter affects a case? Let me begin with you, Bwana Nyatigo. Um, how does my posting affect a case? Yet you are a judge, you ought to be sober, you ought to be neutral, you ought to reason from a perspective of the rule of law, from what is just, not from my sentiments. My sentiments are mine. I'm not the law. When I post on Facebook, on Twitter, I'm not the law. There is the law that you follow. So how is it that now what I post is what makes a judge feel threatened?
Jakes, you can only feel threatened by what people say about what is before you if you know you are not honest. If you are honest in your dealings, whether people say this or that, it should not sway you nor seem to be making you rule in favor of whichever side. You know what's happening now, or even when you listen to what she's saying, she is trying to preempt the fact that she doesn't want to be criticized. And if you don't want criticism, then you know you're not doing the right thing. If you know you are honestly discharging your service, let people talk, and at the end of the day, your honesty will exonerate you from either besmirching or those who would want to show you as a bad person.
Sorry, there is this other thing. It's not just Ahmed Nasir who bashes the courts. We have Akina Cheralgei, we have Akina Cheriot. They have a way of, especially even right now, Akina Ishongwa, that's what they are doing. If we allow this to happen to Ahmed Nasir, what will prevent the courts reaching even further to Akina Cheriot, to Akina Kimani Ishongwa, to anyone who raises a concern? Because what have they been doing the last 1 week or two or thereabout, including the president? They have been doing, but not on Twitter now, but verbally to these courts, to these judges. They have been criticizing, they have been raising issues that are in court, or rather matters that are still live in court, but they feel that the courts either are compromised, are corrupt, or it was undue bias. There was some undue biasness in the ruling. So what prevents the court from doing what they have done to Ahmed Nasir, to any other person, including you and I? Kenya Rebel, I have you for this.
Did you even listen to what Koome was saying? Because I think it answers your question. Okay,
I did.
Then you should ask that question, because she was very categorical in what she was saying. She said there were members of council who actually spoke on these cases, in which some of them are part of the pending cases that were discussing these issues on their social media and all that stuff. And she quoted the gazetted notice for 5212. So what again, Nani, Jakes, please make a distinction. It is one thing for you and I to discuss a case or say, okay, Justice Mwita is corrupt, or the judiciary is corrupt, and all that stuff is corrupt. But if I'm a lawyer, if I've been involved in this, I'm a person of influence, like Abdel Nasir. He has, I don't know how many millions of followers. That's number one. Number two, he's a counselor. He's a familiar face in these corridors of the judicial arm of government, okay? And you constantly, or should I say incessantly, talk about cases and how corrupt these judges are, and maybe some of his law firm, some of the lawyers in his law firm are involved in some of these cases that are pending in courts, then I think it's prudent for the judge who made the decision to ban him to do so, because he's not stopping and he's influencing because if he sways people to make people believe that the judiciary is just rotten, which it is to some extent, then we shall lose faith in the judicial system. So if something happens, why should I go to the courts if I feel like I'm not going to get a fair judgment based on, Abdel Nasir has already told us that he has been giving people 50 million to get a fair judgment. So that's the point of this whole thing of banning Abdel Nasir. It's to the councillors, not all of us. Now, to your question about Cheragay, from what I've heard from Cheragay, Ruto is not a lawyer. He never delves deep into the specifics of the case, or maybe just, and when he does, it's once in a while. It's not as consistent. If you look at Abdel Nasir, for the past 1 month, go look at his tweets. They're really focused on the courts, and his tweets are always, most of them have to do with the judiciary system in Kenya. Okay, so we can see the difference. Wakina nani Ichungwa, yes, they might say it in Ninio kwa Ninio, not as consistently as Ninio. And also, how many cases is Ichungwa involved in the Ninio, in the courts? How many cases is this Cheragay involved in Ninio? Abdel Nasir is a member of his council, senior council, and is involved in most of these cases in the courts. So that's the difference.
All right. Now, just one moment. All right. Now, when you look at all this, it's interesting that you are quick to dismiss him, but many seasoned lawyers, including, now this is something that has united both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. I wish you are on Twitter now and see what is happening there. What the court thought they are doing, I think it has backfired. Grand Mura is now trending at number 1. Trending at number 1. Not just trending, senior counsels have come out to defend him. And in any case, this is a matter I can tell you tomorrow and the days to come will not just slide as any other, because what inhibits the court from gagging any other person? Because by the end of the day, it doesn't matter even if he chooses to write and blog the entire day about the courts. It doesn't matter. It is his freedom. It is his, just like this show can run for as many hours as we want. Correct? We are criticizing anyone. You come here and you call people names, right? You even call some others, and I remember like Jana, you made someone really mad at you. You criticize. That's what you do. The difference between you and Grand Mula, yours is verbal. When you call someone a terrorist, you use your words. That's a spoken statement that Azimio is a terrorist group. That's what you said yesterday and days ahead. You have called Raila Odinga a con man. That's what you have said in this show. That's what you say. And not that I'm attacking you directly. I'm just showing you what Grand Mula does. Grand Mula says it as it is, just like you do it, as he sees it, as he feels it. So tell me, what will prevent the courts from coming after you? You who say as you see it. But before you respond, because I am sure now nimekukoroga, allow me to greet SG Kamau. SG Kamau, how are you?
I'll be so brief.
I'll be coming to you. Nimekuchokoza ndio uweze on edge. Just a moment. Nimekuchokoza ndio uwe on edge. Shikilia hapo. Yes, SG Kamau, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Bwana Jax?
I'm fine, thank you. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well.
Oh, fantastic. We are doing okay.
Now your enemy has been barred from ever stepping before the Supreme Court. What do you make of it?
I just said somewhere else that You know, yesterday I learned something from Otiende Omolo. When he said that when they were with Cholei on Citizen, he said
Yeah, it
that
was very nice. I equally saw it.
yeah, the judge or the magistrate, they have the power to
Mhm.
rule even a bad. They can even make a bad decision
As
out of
long as it's on good faith.
good faith. Yes, so they
Yeah.
have that power. I think the banning of Mullah, and I don't
Mhm.
want us to talk about him so much. I don't think he's a very important person in this country. To me, I think it is responding to a mosquito bite with a hammer. According to me, you know
Did
the
you
way you
just have
respond to
to
a
be
mosquito.
Lumumba? Did
To
you have to
me,
cite Lumumba? But anyway,
to me, yeah, that's what Murumba said. Responding to a mosquito bite with a hammer. I think he's just somewhere, and I think he doesn't have a very good history. I think he has a tainted background, of which we have seen so many very many senior lawyers like Kip Koril, like Miguna, like Harvey. They have spoken so many things about him, which even some of them he has assumed is somebody who was to go and give a witness about his signature, and then he died mysteriously. So we know these things have happened, and therefore, if the court did it out of good faith, we thank them. And the courts have a right to do whatever they feel like because they are small gods. When the judge sits in that seat, yeye ni kamungu kadogo kana decide what to do. That is why you see that the Kenya Kwanza government has to wake up and understand we are not on Moi era. You see, the problem with the Kenya Kwanza is that their president and the deputy president were not in the design of this constitution. They never read this constitution, so it is complicating their matters. And the reason it's complicating their matters is because they're also not taking time to be advised. So they are thinking that these are the days of Moi where you wake up in the morning and send Sudi to go and evict somebody. You wake up the other morning, send Farouk to go and buy or get money from Kamau or Jex. It is not going to happen that way. And we are telling them this year, 2024, this is when you're going to understand we are living in a different dispensation, and you better familiarize yourself with the new constitution, because if you do not, we thank God that we have this constitution. I'm imagining President Ruto and Gachagua without this constitution. Nakwambia hata hii show tungefungwa saa hii, tungeshikwa tupelekwe mbali. But I'm happy that the framers of this constitution foresaw that Kenyans with their naivety, they can vote Kalurus and Abunuasis. And these Abunuasis, now they are getting it tough because each and every minute they do a corner, we are with them on social media, we are with them in the court, and they have a problem to adjust to the new way of doing things. Na tupambana hii mwaka kwanza, watakuwa na mashida mingi sana, kwa sababu tutaenda koti kila siku, kila kitu wanasema we are on in the corridors of the court accusing them and getting court orders until they shape up, and if they are not going to shape up, they shape out. That is the only thing we are advising this Kenya Kwanza government.
But Bwana SG, now that you have gone back to what we had started with, Oscar Sudi chose to settle a woman who had land dispute, and the matter was still live in court. And you saw the president meet the woman, I think in December when he had gone home for Christmas. And the woman who used to be his former schoolmate went to him and asked him, hey, kuna kashida hapa niko nako kashamba. And then, of course, Sudi decided to go with goons, and that's how they evicted the one who had taken the land. Is that how we should be doing things?
No, bro. We cannot allow anarchy and the lawlessness to rule this country. That is anarchy. And if everybody does it that way, then what are we going to have? No country. But on the other hand, I'm happy because they're exposing their ignorance and their what we call in English immaturity. You understand? This is very important for Kenyan to see. This is a government we elected. Those who elected, because of me, I didn't elect them. But it is important for people to see the exposure that this government is doing. Because if, for example, if Ruto didn't win or this government didn't win, we would have thought the successes of Uhuru Kenyatta was his brain. That is what we could have thought. Now, maybe he's the one who advised Uhuru Kenyatta to have an expressway. Maybe he's the one who advised Uhuru Kenyatta to have Linda Mama. But now we have come to realize he was actually the guy who was bringing down that government because he was the most corrupt person. And that is why we see they are doing things in an orthodox way. It is good Kenyans can see that. I can tell you, maybe even that land belongs to that mama. That is, can be true. But there are ways to find fact. You don't go with the goons and execute, become a prosecutor and the executor. It doesn't make sense. That is not a country. It becomes a banana republic. But on the other hand, I'm happy because I usually say when I see these people making mistakes, I buy popcorns and juice because I can say I saw it coming. And I am happy because a country that can be, for this country to be built, lazima tuone vitu vibaya ndio watu wajiulize na kweli tunaelekea wapi kama nchi. That is what people do because as we speak right now we have no country. This is a country whereby we have been taken to court by Museveni. Tshisekedi has broke our military. He has even called his ambassador. Suruhu ameshika maroli za Wakenya zimejaa TZ for the last 1 month. Amebani juzi amebani ndege kwenda huko. Ndio huyu Somalia tuko na kesi ya sijui rectangle iko fulani. We are in a big problem because we have destroyed our international relations. We have destroyed the economy. The dollar is at 160 something. There is nothing that is working except that now God has remembered the people and there is too much rain. So sukuma wiki ziko kila mahali. Ukisiaga unga ya wiki moja, sukuma unakata hata ukipitia kwa barabara. That is the only thing that is happening in this country. But if there was no rain, I can assure you we'll go to factory setting, whereby unga will be expensive and everything will be expensive. So from where I sit, my brother, this country, this year, I think we are going to see what we call the Tower of Babel. Itaporomoka economically, politically. Kama sasa umesikia watu wengine hapo viongozi kutoka Mount Kenya wamesema wanaaibika wakiona huyo deputy president, kama vile tumekuwa tukisema huyu si deputy president, huyu hana zile heshima. Akitamka maneno ya shareholding anatupatia aibu kama nchi. Hata ukienda nchi nyingine ukiulizwa kama mko na deputy, huyo ndio deputy, unasema mimi sio huyo nchi, because whatever he says gives us shame as a country. There is nothing he says that is constructive. He seems he's like the way you are an educated village chief. Unakuja come. That is why even he didn't take the petition today to JSC, because it could have been a laughing stock. Kwa sababu ile kitu yote ingeandikwa hapo ingekuwa tu hadithi za Abunuasi. Tunge scrutinize hapa, tunasema hiyo ni uongo na hangesema pahali pale alitoa pesa. So as a people, we need to wake up and smell the coffee. Kenya is ripe for a revolution. Now, that is what is going to happen.
There's a reason nilikukoroga Kenya Rebel, because I knew SG was coming and you were to come after him. Now, before I give to you, Bananyatigo, allow me to have Kenya Rebel. I'm sure you'll have a great response to Mr. Kamau. Kenya Rebel, do you agree with the sentiments? But equally, I would want to know, what do you make of how Oscar Sudi evicted somebody because of land? What do you make of it? Now we cannot hear you. We cannot hear you. All right, as he's working on his end, I don't know what he has done. I'll start to Sawa. Yes, Nyatigo, go ahead.
Well, I don't think what Oscar Sudi did was right. That is wrong, and that is taking Kenya back to a dark time back in the 80s and early 70s. In the current Kenya, that one, the law should be followed to the letter to make sure that people have got protection to own and stay wherever they are. I could want to take that one and extend it to what you saw happening in Kisii, and I know that's what you started with. When this is a government that everybody should be worried about. In fact, we are ashamed. SG has talked about the depreciation of the falling of the economy. A few months ago, one British pound was less than 200 shillings to the Kenya shilling. Right now, as we are speaking, it's going to 205 shillings to one British pound. The dollar has gone up. Where are we as a country? You've seen what's happening in Somalia, between Kenya and Somalia. The other day, someone was told not to set foot in Sudan. The other day before that, you heard what was said about our forces in DR Congo. Our brothers and sisters down here in Tanzania, you see what they are doing to us. Where are we? And remember, sometimes back when Kenya was an island of peace, now we are an island of anarchy. And these same people who are driving anarchy in the community are the same guys who want to make the judiciary to become anarchic. Where are we going as a country? In fact, SG said something very important. This is a year when they should be on their toes. They need to know that the Constitution says in the first opening parts, power belongs to the people. And this is to say Kenya is ripe for a revolution by the people, citizens' revolution, so that we can reclaim back our country. As he has said, you know, we need to let, if it's a democracy, let the Constitution run the country. Let us have space, personal space. Let us have freedom. And they can start pitting around. But you see now, economically we are going down. All sectors of the economy. Look at education. Gone are the days when Kenyan system of education was respected even in East and Central Africa. Where are we now? Where are we when children are doing exams and then they have to go back to court to seek their results? Is it the court that was marking the examination? The courts did not administer the exams. So you can see where we are going. All I can say, as a country, we are heading in the wrong way.
All right, that's my young one. But let me come back to you on this one. When you look at just a moment, allow me to mute you. When you look at Osoro and Oscar Sudi, these two acts are, in actual words, are lawlessness. In any case, these are acts that may be termed as criminal. You come to a meeting with goons and attack a governor simply because he has come to your constituency and you don't agree with him, and you attack some people. That's wrong. From any angle you want to look at it, it's wrong. Two, you go evict someone where there is even a court order, there is a process going on. You are not above the law. the law. You do it. You take people, they steal from this person, they destruct his property simply because you want to prove a point. Is it the unleashing of lawlessness in our country? Is this what it meant, the use of the sword, not the use of the constitution?
I can say that those were very unfortunate remarks. For a president to utter such words, that was unfortunate. And for people in government to do anything akin to putting down the constitution or to break the law, that was wrong. If anything, I can tell you, like the case of Osoro, the Wusi community comprises of very many clans. He is pitting one clan against another in the same county. If these were the times of the electioneering period, when people could be rallying support for one person, I can tell you that many people would have lost their lives. That notwithstanding, we have people who are hurt because of the skirmishes that were brought by the same Osoro. But the fact is, Osoro is a very young boy who needs to sit back and learn what politics is. He may be having advisors who are telling him to do wrong things. That's not how people rise to power and rise to fame. You saw even his own constituents are now up against him because of what he did. Nobody is happy. The same thing to Sudi. Remember, even in theocracy, you know, when Jesus came, he wanted to establish, or he was to establish the kingdom of God on earth. What did that widow go to him to? He went to ask for justice. And for sure, Christ gave an example of what should happen. So when you find Sudi taking wounds to evict people and settle others, because, and you know, even if he did it on his own, he is known to be very close to the president. We always assumed that he has got a blessing from the president to go and do it, because the lady says they were classmates. So instead of the president doing it, he sent his closest man to go and do it. And that is now bringing down the president. We are bringing him down to look like he's the one doing it. That was very wrong.
Okay, so the lady begins by saying that the president was a former classmate. So can this be termed as the president was doing her a favor?
I want to believe that in any way that the lady can put it, and in any way any audience can take it to mean that she was getting a favor from the president. Sudi is always known to be the right-hand man of Ruto, so he was doing it with the blessing of Ruto. We can assume like that, because has the president said anything about it? Has the law enforcement officers done anything about the eviction? Nothing has happened. Has anything happened in Kisi where Osoro went shooting people? Nothing has happened. So we assume that the government of the day knows and he has given blessings to those who are breaking the law.
All right.
If it was against what should have been done, then people could be behind bars for doing the wrong thing.
All right. Interesting. I see we are equally joined by Mzalendo and Bwana Gaka. I think he's your village mate. Allow me to begin by greeting them and equally asking their sentiments. We have so many stories today. I don't know which ones they'll want to start with, but we can begin with the one we have just concluded with of what Oscar Sudi did yesterday. So let me begin with you, Mzalendo. What do you make of Sudi's actions yesterday?
Jexi, first of all, greetings, Mr. Nyatigo, and Mr. Pen Nyagaka and Jex. I don't know what Sudi did yesterday. You know, we are on this other part of the world where we could not be able to see exactly what Sudi did yesterday. What the reason why I actually I'd come in early and I couldn't get in the studio is when you're commenting about one Grand Mula or what Martha Koome had said about the lawyers who are commenting on cases that are before court. And I've seen speakers here saying that it is okay and all that. That's absolutely wrong because law is very, very, very clear that matters before court, you cannot start commenting about them. It's like a doctor going out there and talking about the patient that they're treating. That is against the rights of the patient that you're treating. The law is the same. People will start having opinion about that case, and there will be no fair hearing or judgment because already that matter has been litigated in the public court. So that is absolutely wrong. It's against his profession. It is not a lawyer's conduct. That those are rogue lawyers who are actually trying to get some, like following on Twitter, like Abdul Nasir. So that's the reason why I actually wanted to comment on that particular matter. On matter about Sudi, unless you tell me what he actually did, maybe I can just have an overview of what Sudi did.
All right. Now that makes me, I'll have to do two things. Number one, tell you what has happened to Ahmed Nasir, because I think you got the information up at the tip end. There's a whole meat flesh ambao you need to know about that. And I agree with you, that one inaweza kuwa ijakufikia kabisa, and equally on what Sudi did. Let me begin with Ahmed Nasir. Just this evening, Ahmed Nasir has been barred permanently from ever stepping before the Supreme Court on any matter. Him and his associate, he cannot even send someone to represent him or speak on issues in the Supreme Court. Of course, we were looking at how, in fact, many lawyers have come out to defend him because he is a man who has been vocal, criticizing and, of course, commenting on matters courts. He is a man who has come out to condemn issues that happen in the courts. And what maybe you found us discussing then was how one time Martha Koome, before even issuing a ruling, had the effrontery to comment, or rather to caution Ahmed Nasir and Nelson Harvey about the same. So that's what we were discussing. About Oscar Sudi. Oscar Sudi, there's a land, and maybe let me play these two clips, and I want you to look at them, and then maybe that would inform you what we were talking about. This happened yesterday.
Pitting a family and an unknown personality who allegedly kicked out the woman 2 years ago. Early today, Kapseret lawmaker, that is Oscar Kipchumba Sudi, led tens of youth in demolishing structures erected on the land where a couple was evicted nearly 2 years ago. The MP watched as a group of youth demolished houses built by the said powerful individual and dared anyone claiming that the land, claiming the land to take him to court. Elvis Koske reports.
The Kapseret Member of Parliament arrived at the farm in a convoy and addressed residents before leading them to a location where some structures had been erected. And in less than an hour, the aisle sheet houses had been brought down by the youth.
Na akatutesa sana, wakapeleka kila kitu, hata hisi mabati ilikuwa yetu, kila kitu ilikuwa yetu. Sisi tuko nje, watoto iko, kila mtu iko pali yake, ngine iko pali ngine, ngine iko pali ngine.
Kama wewe ni mtu, labda wewe ni mwanaume sana kutushinda, nipeleke kotini mimi. Sio mtu mwingine. Huyu mama haisidi kuishi nyumba wenyewe na watoto wake wametapakaa wako kwa majirani huko. Na wewe umetoka sijui, mwingine ametoka sijui Karen ati anaishi hapa Mkora. Mwingine anatoka Ndalat ati na shamba wenyewe. Yule mtu mwenye alikuwa anauza shamba ya Turning. Nataka nirudie tena. Bado ako hai. Mimi mwenyewe nimeongea na yeye. Hata sikutaja mara mbili, akaniambia wana wakora. Akaniambia title ya hiyo shamba wajepeana.
Tunaomba koti zetu msiwe mnahalalisha vyeti kusi ambapo watu wanapata na kukimbilia mahakamani to defend those fraudulently obtained documents.
The land in question is 20 acres of land claimed by 60-year-old Emily Keter and her husband. They claim they were kicked out of the land by a powerful individual who took over the possession of land in 2022.
Tunaenda kubomoa hiyo nyumba. Sasa nitangaza hapa ya kwamba nimeleta mafundi wajengee huyu mama nyumba yake. Na hawa watu wengine watu waishi kwa mashamba yao na haki yao. Period.
Lakini watu ya mahakama, fanyeni haki kabisa, wacheni pesa. Wananyanyaswa watu wengi wamekufa, wachili hawana pesa. Tuna magari, hatuna nini, hatuna hata pikipiki, hata baiskeli, hatuna.
Efforts to get comments from the individual accused of evicting the family proved futile as no one was on the ground during the demolition exercise.
Hii makesi yote Eldred, we must do something. Kuna mtu alikufa hapa, kuna mama alikufa hapa. Anaitwa Edna. Kwa sababu ya hiyo kukuja polisi wamekuja hapa, impunity, wameenda wamepewa pesa na wakora, wamepata order, wamekuja hapa, wamefukuza watu.
Nataka tujue huyo church mwenye alitoa hizo orders alifuatilia ushahidi gani? What document did he interrogate as the church, as a trial church, that warranted him or her to issue
from ever making appearances at the Supreme Court? Now, we begin at the Supreme Court, where tonight judges have slapped advocate Nasir Abdullahi and associates of his law firm with a permanent ban from ever making appearances at the Supreme Court. In a statement, the full 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court said lawyer Nasir has relentlessly ridiculed the Supreme Court and its judges, accusing them of corruption and undermining the Supreme Court. But lawyer Nasir has dismissed the ban and instead termed it a badge of honor. Stephen Leto now reports.
It was an extraordinary step and indeed the first of its kind since the Supreme Court was established through the Constitution of Kenya 2010. The 7 judges of the Supreme Court have banned lawyer Nasir Abdullahi from ever appearing before the court, accusing the lawyer of undermining the independence of the judiciary. In a statement from the Supreme Court, the judges have accused Nasir of relentlessly and unabashedly conducting a campaign in the broadcast, print and social media aimed at scandalizing, ridiculing and outrightly denigrating the Supreme Court. According to the Supreme Court, the lawyer has accused the court either in its constitutive persona or individual membership of acts of corruption, incompetence and outright bribery. The statement further reads, quote, "This you have done with reckless abandon, paying scant regard to the reputations of those who tirelessly serve on the court in accordance with the oath of office." The Supreme Court, in its unanimous decision, wrote to the lawyer saying it is the decision of this court that henceforth and from the date of this communication, you shall have no audience before the court, either by yourself, through an employee of your law firm, or any other persona holding brief for you, or acting pursuant to your instructions. End quote. According to the statement, the senior counsel has ignored several warnings from the judges, including rulings made in several cases he defended before the Supreme Court. The judges accused the lawyer of a sheer display of insensitivity and abusive arrogance by his continued attacks on the judiciary, despite warnings to stop. Even with the warning, Supreme Court judges say appears not to have had any sobering effect upon Nasir. On the contrary, judges say he has persisted in his unsubstantiated and virulent attacks against the leadership and members membership of the court. The statement concludes, much as the decision is bound to affect those who may have instructed you to represent them before the court, it is untenable that you will seek justice in the very institution and before the very judges whose reputation and integrity you never tire in assaulting. In a reaction through the social media, Ahmed Nasir laughed off the ban, saying it is a badge of honor for the court to refuse him and his law firm audience. It remains unclear if the ban by the Supreme Court will have a ripple effect on the lower courts. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
Sorry, that is what is happening, and that's what we were discussing throughout the show. All right, so Mzalendo, what do you say about this ban?
I just as I said, it was long overdue. This lawyer has been very, very arrogant in the past, and even his neighbors have complained about him. He lives somewhere in Karen. He is such an arrogant person. He is full of himself. What I think happened to Abdul Nasir is that at some point he thought he was going to be the Attorney General of Kenya, or even being appointed one of the Supreme Court judges. So when all that failed, the Grand Mullah has been on the onslaught of those occupying offices that are way above him. So that is a problem, and this is the practice that is done worldwide, even in the U.S. And fortunately, if a lawyer lies in court, you see in Kenya lawyers can lie and they get away with it. In the US, you cannot lie as a lawyer and get away with it. You'll be banned. You'll be banned. You cannot take a bribe and get away with it. You cannot interfere with a case and get away with it. So, the Supreme Court is doing what it's supposed to do. It's doing what it's supposed to do. They should have started this a long, long time ago with lawyers who are always commenting about matters before the court. And they go on television each and every time commenting on matters before the court. If you comment on matters before the court, I believe what should have been fair for him, for instance, if you can reverse the clock, is that the Chief Justice or the AG should have warned Abdel Nasir of his actions, especially on Twitter. He should have been warned that we are giving you the first warning. It's called what? That body that governs all lawyers, it's called the JRC or something like that. Judicial Service Commission. Judicial Service Commission should have also written to him a letter saying that, what you've been doing on social media is not accepted, especially on cases that are before court. On other matters, on matters that have been ruled, yes, you can comment, but on cases that are still in court, you should not comment about it. And I also saw the clip on Sudi. We have talked about land and how important to follow the right protocol to acquire land in Kenya and the procedure. Land that the owner is still alive, in Kenya today, that land and the title is in their names. You cannot occupy that land unless a succession is done successfully and the transfer is done to your name. Any title that you are given, and the mother title is still reading, or the green book is still reading the owner or the previous owner's land, that land does not belong to you. What Sudi has done is that these are people who are encroaching in somebody's land, and the owner of the land said that he doesn't know about them. This land does not belong to them. Give the right people that back their land. So this is an issue that is very, very very, very important, especially to squatters who are actually being kicked out of their homes. I look at the issue of Athi River land. Those people knowingly, and they even had rumors that this land belongs to the Portland Cement, but they went ahead. They were given fake titles, and they occupied the space. When their houses are being demolished, now is when you come to realize, oh, wait a minute. We spent millions here, and this is not our land, and the title that we have is, they don't even have titles. So some of these places, they have what we call allotments. So you are allocated land by some broker there. Maybe the owner of the land is abroad, or maybe the owner is not developing the land. You feel like this land has not been developed for 5 years, let me occupy it. Because there is also a law that says that if you have occupied land that the owner has not developed for about 10 years, you can own it. So these are some of the people who are taking advantage of others to occupy their land. What Sudi did is the right thing to do, because you've seen if these matters are taken to court, they take so long. And especially everybody is not trusting the court anymore. Lawyers themselves are corrupt. You take it to this lawyer, he's corrupt. You take it to the other lawyer, he corrupts the other lawyer. I mean, that is the nature of our country. But a land that does not belong to you, you should not occupy it. If you don't have any document that is showing you that this is my land, especially a title deed, a genuine one, then you should be kicked out of that.
Well, all right. I'm sure Bwana Nyatigo will have opposing sentiments. I'll be coming to you kidogo tu. Yes, Bwana Penya Gaka. Nyagaka, are you there? All right. Mburu, are you there with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So what is your remarks?
Hello?
Where do you begin? Do you begin with Grand Mula, Oscar Sudi, or where do you want to begin?
I agree with everything Zalendo has said, and even to say my opinion is to repeat exactly what Zalendo has said. The Grand Mura is very arrogant, and he looks at those judges like they're childish or below him. As far as we have listened to him, and the Kenyan media call him Grand Mula and all this other stuff, this is the time that they really dealt him in. Ugenda huko kwa Oscar Sudi, those who should really follow the process of the court system, even if it is wrong. Personally, I have a case that right now I cannot even find a judge, and the judges are really corrupt. Lakini yangu ni kusema mingi ya Kisii, kwa sababu hapo ndio nimetoka. Huyu Simba Arati ni gavana yangu, lakini anakimbia mpaka Migori kuenda kulia huko. Yesterday, all the wazirs, even most of them were really in ODM, like Professor Ngeri. All these guys are in ODM. They call him and call Osoro so that they can solve their problems. He was nowhere to be found. But today, he has a preacher of a Catholic church, giving a lecture that Osoro is trying to kill him and all this other stuff. Osoro has a story and Arati has a story. But you cannot go only on one story. Ile tumesikia yote 99% ni vile Simba is being killed by Osoro. But why do you refuse your neighbor, your people? We Kisii, we have a tradition. Wale wazee wote wa Kisii na wengi wao walikuwa ni watu ya ODM. Wakimuita, kwa nini hakuji huko? Why does he want to show up? Osoro has a different story to say. If you have to charge me and so fighting, you have to listen to my story and somebody's story. Lakini akienda huko Migori analia tu, kila mtu anasema Ruto is killing him, nini. It makes even if the actions of Osoro were negative when we saw them the first time, as time goes, it really shows that Arati is really doing himself in, and it is childish. You cannot follow one story only. You listen to both of them, then make a judgment. And without me repeating myself, yesterday, Professor Gary, all of them, who 9% of them were ODM people, called him and he refused to go. So you cannot solve your kissing problems by going to anywhere else to say how you are being killed. Even if Osoro did wrong, we want to know, so that how can you correct somebody without listening to him and telling him that, here, young man, you did wrong. Listen to the other guy and say, no, you did right. Osoro says that he had tractors, Wanachimba Parapara. And when Arad passed it through, they broke everything. They have beat up one of the drivers of those tractors. He's in the hospital today as we speak. So there is more than it meets in the eye, Uko in Kisii, and we know that Osoro and Simba have had problems together. They are young people, and young people make mistakes. We understand that. Lakini ile tunasema tu ni kama Osoro atakubali, Simba Arati atakubali ili wazee wote kina Matundura wawaambie. Most of them have been in power. They have, kama Professor Gary alikuwa minister, they have been there. They had been a senator from Kisii. We have seen all this, and they cannot only rule for Osoro. They will have to agree on something. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Nyagaka. All right, thank you so much, Nyagaka. Bwana Mboro, before I have you, I'll be leaving in a few. I'll leave you in the hands of Mzalendo and the other panelists. But equally, I'll be helping you join, and you can join in the conversation. We are talking about so many issues. Kuna bado zingine hatujaongelelea, but as it appears below your screen, we are looking at Osoro and Oscar Sudi, lawlessness. We are looking at Salasya, what he did yesterday, I think today. The DP Gashagwa was to present a petition against Judge Esther Minor. That didn't happen. Equally, we are looking at Ahmed Nasir being barred in court, Supreme Court, from ever appearing before it, and as well, Mackenzie of Shakahola has been accused and charged with terrorism. That's what we are looking at, even as we proceed with the show. All right. Thank you very much. Bwana Geoffrey Mboro, I hope you are okay.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm fantastic, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. I may not have much to say, but I just want to touch something on our politicians and their conduct and their behaviors. I'll just give a kind of a general statement, not pointing to specific leaders, but a general statement that we as Kenyans have given or have put our nation on the hands of our leaders, because these are the people who are supposed to be trusted to take our nation forward. These are people who are supposed to be trusted to place our nation among other nations in a higher place. But when I look at the conduct, their behaviors, I wonder whether most of our politicians understand what is expected of them, because we call them honorable members, mheshimiwa. That's a big name, and that name should mean something. That title of honorable, it should mean something to them. I am expecting that our leaders are supposed to be good examples to other people. to even upcoming generation, because we look, many people look upon them for guidance and also to become a good example of how leadership should look like. But I see people who don't carry themselves with dignity, with decorum, people that we are supposed to highly esteem. They have what we call intolerance of the highest order. They lack emotional intelligence. Sometimes they don't know what to say, when to say it, how, to whom. And wisdom is when you are even able to control your mouth. Most of our leaders, they don't know. The moment they get the microphone, they will say anything without caring if what they are saying is having the ability of the potential of destroying the nation. So for me, I want to strongly condemn the conduct of our leaders. When we even see them fight in public, we even see them causing violence. What kind of leaders are they? And I want to encourage Kenyans, when you see such people, don't re-elect them. Those are hooligans. Those are people who are putting the nation down. For me, anybody who can fight in public, physically fight, that person is not qualified to hold any office. Any person who can organize young people to go and fight, that person is not supposed to be their leader, because we put them forward. We voted for them because we believed that they have good brains, that they are intelligent, that they have knowledge, that that they have ideas that maybe some of us don't have. But are they portraying that in the offices that they occupy? So for me, I want to encourage Kenyans, the leaders who behave in a manner that is demeaning to the positions that we have given them, we should never re-elect them. And if possible, we have the processes in the Constitution. Some of these leaders ought to be impeached on the basis of their conduct, because these are the people who are the face of the nation. So when other people look at us, they see us and they reflect us basing on the conduct of the leadership that we have. So for me, I feel so bad. I feel so bad that those things happen. We have the processes, but nothing, no steps that are taken. They can do anything. That is why you see that the politicians in Kenya, they can even shoot someone, and that is it. And they continue to hold offices. They can do anything. They are the worst, cruel animals, but nothing can be done. Does it mean as a nation we are hopeless? Does it mean we don't have better people? Is that the best we can have? And I'm not saying all of them, but some of them are really disappointing to the nation of Kenya. Thank you.
All right. I think you chose to talk. You chose to talk generally, and not to dive in any matter. But I can ask you a direct one. Do you agree with the barring of one Ahmed Nasir from appearing before the Supreme Court? He has been permanently been barred from ever appearing before the Supreme Court. Do you agree with that ruling?
That is another intolerance. How do you bar somebody from accessing Supreme Court? It doesn't belong to Mother Koome. It doesn't belong to anybody. That's the Supreme Court of the nation of Kenya. Does it mean that if you are criticized, you misuse the power that you have? We see the government and the president being criticized every day. Should he bar us from being Kenyans or from accessing the services? Anyway, so that is misuse of power. That is intolerance. The judiciary does not belong to anybody. So you cannot say that this is my space. This is the court that I lead. Therefore, because you have been criticizing us, you are barred from appearing. No, that is misuse of power. Anybody should have freedom of expression. Just as we have the freedom of expression and saying what we think about the judiciary, what we think about the executive and the registratures, even lawyers, they have the freedom. So are they expecting that everything good should be said about them? Does it mean that everything Ahmed Nasir has been saying is wrong? For me, I say no. Mother Koome, that is not the way to go. Maybe he has been going overboard, but have they followed the due process before you can say that permanently? It can never be permanent because she is not even going to be in the judiciary permanently herself. So I know those things will be reversed. That is not the way to go. That is intolerance of the highest order. That is intolerance. And it's good to criticize people, just as I encourage people, continue criticizing the judiciary, continue criticizing the executive and the presidency's office, because it is through that people are careful in their conduct. So when you tell us we cannot criticize you, then who are you? Are you a semigod? I normally say absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Fantastic. Nyatiga, I give you some time as well to respond.
Well, I think the immediate speakers highlighted very important points. Of course, I would have asked Salendo a few questions or added to what he said is that if Ahmed Nasir has been banned from using the services of the judiciary or going to represent anybody or going to appear before them, because he has incessantly said that they are corrupt churches. They are people who can be put to give a ruling in whichever way they have been paid for. One, does it mean that when the president says that they are corrupt, they agree? Because if the same word against them has come from a person who is not the president and he has been panned, are they going to pan the president because he has also said they are corrupt? Number two, I want to go to Pen Nyagaka. In Kisi, I also come from Kisi, by the way, but I come from North Mogrango. And what I see happening in that community, I'm so much appalled, because these are young leaders who are supposed to set example for our people. We are youngsters. We need to learn from those who are in positions of leadership so that tomorrow we do something good for the community and for the country. But something that is I think I need to disagree with him is one that when these old men were calling for a meeting of truth between Osoro and the Simba, there are some things that I think I want to laud Simba for not agreeing to attend. One, among the conveners of the truth meeting are those who have been named as instigators, those who are backing Osoro. And therefore, for the other guy to keep off, I think he needs peace to reign fast, calm to reign fast before they go into that. And another thing, why would they want to go ahead of the processes of trying to unravel what happened or what took place? There is the arm of the government, the law enforcers let them unravel. We saw people shooting, we saw people running with AK-47s. These are men who were caught on camera committing atrocities against innocent people who had come to get money. You know how important and how expensive and how dear education is for people's children. And they were doing something against the wishes of those who had come to attend the meeting. And therefore, for them to try to abort the processes of trying to find out the culprit, that was premature. I think Arati did the best thing not to go. Someone like some people like our former Senator Ongeri is fine, but the old man like Machog, who is known to have been a competitor with Osoro, should not have been in the group calling for a truce between the two, because he has been named. Number three, when you look at what Sudi is doing, Sudi is taking people the wrong way. If we are in a country that loves the rule of law, even those in government should respect the rule of law. If there are court cases about that piece of land, and in fact here, I'm going to peg a question: what is it that the president knows about the eviction that was led by his right-hand man Sudi? And I want to say, we are going back into even before or into the Nyayo era, where people were doing things the way they wanted because they knew they had some backing from the government. But even so, I remember one time when Msemoi had a meeting somewhere in Pomet, and there was a very powerful politician from Rift Valley who said, tingisa kidole moja ni iyo ni kanu peke yake. If you see someone tingisa ringi mbili signifying multiparty, kata vidole. And the Msemoi called the politician akamuuliza, kwani vidole unataka kukata uende kutengeneza supu? The politician said, Mse, you know, I'm sorry. But as we are seeing, things are happening, and those in government, even the president himself is not calling his group to order. So we are wondering whether this is really a country that is run by a rule of law or as a constitution, or we are just like in animal farm where some animals are better than others. That's we are coming down to animal farm. Thank you.
All right, Mzalendo, I see we have truly exhausted what we ought to have talked about. Maybe I can give you a minute or so to give me your closing remarks. Equally, I'll come to you, Bwana Nyatiga, to give me your closing remarks even as we wind up the show. But thank you so much, everyone who tuned in to this. We continue very early, bright and early in the morning with our morning's edition. We will look at more of this and what will be in our newspapers and what will be making headlines tomorrow morning, or rather today morning, because it's already past midnight here in Kenya. So please stay tuned for that. We'll have another great one. But this, what we're having now, is winding up now, and that's why I'm having my panelists to give their closing remarks. But the next one starts immediately at around 9 a.m. Kenyan time. Yes, Mzalendo.
Mr. Nyatugo, before I give my closing remarks, is that I want to correct you by saying that politicians make utterances. These utterances are not law. A president can say anything on top of his vehicle, and that is not law. That is an utterance. And you cannot quote him and say the president said this, and we are going back to the Nyayo era. If you're saying we are going back to the Nyayo era because it is Kenya Kwanza lands, then you can look at what happened in Busia. For example, what has been happening in Migori. When legislators get the microphone, they say that this is an ODM zone and you don't want anybody here. I don't know what you'll be saying about that. So this is cutting across board. Whatever these politicians are saying, they are warmongers. They are instigating war among people who don't agree with them. On issues of land, I've told there is private land. Private land is private, just like the word private. No matter how many times you take it to court, if it is my land and it is private, you have got no reason to be in that particular land. You can get as many injunctions as you can, but at the end of the day, you have to get out of that land. If the court is not doing what it's supposed to do, because lawyers are going to get injunction, lawyers are going to postpone court cases and all that, then you can see the families there now, they took the law into their hand and said, let us occupy the land that belongs to us. So this is where we are as a country. We are in a country where we have two factions that one did not get into power, and they have a good majority, a good minority, and the majority that is in power. So the voices of people in Azimio are very loud, like Nyatigo and many others. They are very, very loud. I am just giving you an example. I've not said you are a member of Azimio. There are people who are criticizing the government, and their
If
voices.
you can withdraw that, I'll be happy.
Let me withdraw my remarks by saying that you're not a member of Azimio. You've got the right of your opinion. But what I was trying to say is that the voice of the opposition is very loud, because the last election was a very close call. And that is what you're witnessing in social media, you're witnessing everywhere. But the independence of the judiciary is what Kome is fighting for. The judiciary is very, very independent. Although they are corrupt, but they are trying to be as independent as they can. If you see the president himself complaining that, you guys, I don't like the way some of you guys are ruling against me. And for sure, somebody in the opposition can jeopardize government projects by going to court each and every time. Each and every time you want to start a road, I run to court and stop it. And I've got my reason. And Mr. Nyatigo, just the same as what you just said, you've got the right to be heard by that court. That court will drag this case for so many years because they're following the procedure. But it is high time that we know that the courts in Kenya should be given a time frame to judge urgent matters within a certain period of time, a petition within a certain period of time, corruption cases within a certain period of time. Maybe that way the public will start having confidence in the judiciary. But lawyers commenting on matters before the court, that is criminal. That should not be condoned at all. That should be the last thing that you are taught in a law school is not to do that. So whatever they are saying, whether you are saying that there is freedom of speech, as freedom of speech is guarded within your profession. If you have got a matter in court and you are a lawyer and you are out there commenting on the same case in a morning show radio, or you come to a freak here and comment on the case that you're supposed to represent your client before the general public, that is absolutely wrong. From Nasir, I maintain that it was long overdue. It should be barred completely from practice, so that other lawyers can learn from this. So it is good that Kome has taken action to the people that he can take action to. I think that is also my closing remarks. I wouldn't have to add after that. Thank you.
All right. Yes, Bwana Nyatika.
Well, I do not have much to say, but what I can say is that Kenya is a growing democracy, but there are some bottlenecks that we are seeing, and that's our motherland. At the end of the day, those of us who are wherever we are will go back home because that is home. And the problem that I have is that over a time, I've lived through the presidents from the founding father, the second one. I want to say that I experienced development when the third president was in power. And this development we are eroding the development and the growth that we had gotten just because we are disregarding the rule of law and the constitution that is in place. How I wish we could just be a people who can, yani wenye wanaweza palilia yale maendeleo ambayo tumepata kwa serikali zilizopita. Asanteni sana.
All right, thank you so much, my brother. Usipoteange hivyo, usipotee hivyo, uko umepotea sana. Thank you so much for being part of the show tonight. It was good to see you after a long while. Equally, thank you so much, Bwana Mzalendo and Mburu, Penyagaka, Kenya Rebel, Mr. Alex, and many who joined as panelists. Asanteni sana. Equally, you who participated as a commentator, like Ezesh Mfinyi, Gudia, Geoffrey Ruto, and many of you who participated by commenting, and equally you who equally participated by viewing the program. We don't take it for granted. We truly appreciate you, and we thank you for doing that. Thank you very, very much. Asante sana for making. Thank you so very, very much. Asante sana. Now that we end up, we choose to ask you and invite you to the morning show. Asanteni sana kwa kuwa part of this great discussion. See you in the morning with another great one from us.
Asante sana,
Thank you very much.
Mzalendo.
Bye bye. Good night. Good morning. All right.
Tunasonga mbele watu wote wa Jamhuri Kenya yetu. Tunasonga mbele watu wote wa Jamhuri Kenya yetu. Haya sisi sote wananchi tushangilie. Eko Jamhuri, eko Jamhuri, sote eko Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Eko Jamhuri, sote eko Jamhuri, eko Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Mwaka wa 60 umefika, tangu Kenya iwe huru. Mwaka wa 60 umefika, tangu Kenya iwe huru. Haya sisi sote wananchi tushangilie. Eko Jamhuri, eko Jamhuri, sote eko Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Eko Jamhuri, sote eko Jamhuri, eko Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Kweli twaenda mbio, Kenya yaenda mbele. Kwa elimu twaenda mbele, matibabuni twaenda mbele, viwandani twaenda mbele, na mashambani twaenda mbele. Eko Jamhuri, sote eko Jamhuri, eko Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Eko Jamhuri, eko Jamhuri, sote eko Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Tunajivunia Kenya nchi yetu, kweli yapendeza, kweli yavutia. Tunajivunia Kenya nchi yetu, kweli yapendeza, kweli yavutia. Kenya nchi yangu nitaitoroza, nitailinda maishani mwangu. Kenya nchi yangu nitaitoroza, nitailinda maishani mwangu. Ziwa la Victoria linaunganisha Kenya